All right. Can you hear me, Tanya?
I can hear you, Holly.
Okay. We'll go ahead and get started. What I'd like to do is real quick, we have some new people joining us today, so we'll do some real quick introductions, just name and where you're from and maybe a little bit about what you do in this role. All right, we'll start with you.
Okay, I'm Carrie Koschel, and I teach at Cunningham Elementary School. I'm a fourth grade teacher, and I'm also a curriculum team.
Hi, Audrey Austin. I'm 5th and 6th from Maxville. Curriculum, everything else, and small school.
Kathy Freehan, Peabody Burns, curriculum assessment.
Kevin Stuckey Haven, Director of Learning Services.
Kelly Hartshorn, Clearwater, curriculum and assessment. Lauren Cheney, teaching and learning.
Lindsay Burns, Frenwick, assistant.
Karen Delaine Mays, assistant for elementary. Sheena Rathman Mays. Becky Hilstra, Victoria Valley Center, Director of Learning. Angie McDonald, McPherson, Director of Teaching.
Miss anybody? I'm Holly Francis from Augusta, Assistant Sue. And,
Kitty Kaufman.
oh, sorry, sorry. I'm challenged here. I'm like scrolling all over the place. But okay, anybody else? All right. Good morning, everybody. And Tanya, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Tanya Swartz, and I'm from Chaparral Schools, and I'm the Technology and Curriculum Facilitator.
All right. We're going to do our group share out. It went last time we met, we put this at the beginning of the agenda, and I think it's the most popular task or activity that we do. It's a valuable way or a way for us to share information about what's going on in our district, a good time to ask questions and get them answered. So we're going to do that again today, and I just put five bullets on there of just possibilities of what you could share. But if you have anything else that you want to talk about or share with the group, you're more than welcome to do that. So real quickly, maybe look at the bullets and get an idea of what you want to share, and then we'll go around the room and do so. Okay, let's start with Cindy.
Oh, yay!
She's always prepared. You don't have to share all of it, just pick one or two. Again, anything you want to talk about is fine.
The professional learning opportunities we're doing. It occurred to me that I looked at my budget and did the budget evaluation on professional learning and how much I spent on what. I don't know if anybody's ever evaluated. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
K-5, middle school, high school, and evaluating who's going to, like, is it spread out or are you investing a lot in 4 or 5 people? Anyway, so when I was doing that, we had invested a lot into Teach Tuesdays that I take for half-day subs for grade levels to collaborate every Tuesday. And so that's been a big investment. And so it goes like across the district. So all 5th grade teachers get together Tuesday afternoon, and then the next week is 4th grade, next week's 3rd, and the next week's 2nd, 1st, kindergarten, and it starts again. And then the high school course that we don't really ever get, we don't share common time here. Can we go? And so then now I got at high school, ELA, social studies, science. And then, of course, you give a massive cookie. So then the K-5 or my elementary music people are like, well, we really need to get together. And then my elementary PE are like, we really like to get together. And so I calculated out, I have, so November to May, I'm spending $10,376 on subs for Team Tuesday, which is a huge investment. And so one of our rocks is collaboration. We went through what's our big rock in our district is collaboration. And so, because I'm getting all these requests, I went and talked to the superintendent that, needs moving, but I'm not going to be honest. I got to just come over budget. And he said, well, priorities. So we moved some things around. Because of that, because we really feel like collaboration is like giving teachers time to plan, talk, and collaborate is the key to really change in the district. And so a lot of great things come out of that collaboration, but that's been a big investment in our district. And this is our third year for it, and it just keeps getting bigger. We have to do that because we only have 4 field days all year. So, and then the other thing is on Martin Luther King Day, and some of you have contacted, we're going to do an ed camp, and we're inviting any school that would like to join us to do an ed camp in Bueller on Martin Luther King Day. And it will be free of charge. Anybody that wants, if you would like to do 7 or 8 teachers, or if you don't have school, you just want to spend their day coming over, that's fine. We have some Hutch teachers that are going to join us because they're not in school, they don't have professional learning that day. And so I think they're going to come and join us. We're going to try to get a speaker to start off with, and then do an ed camp style thing. And that we just kind of starting to plan that. I think we're going to try to do it a lot virtually, like the time if you've ever done an ed camp, that writing it out time. I don't know if they call that, but when they do the sessions, we're going to try to do that virtually ahead of time so we don't have that hour of downtime of walking around and looking at things. We're going to do that virtually. So if you're interested in joining us, or you want to you have 5 or 6 teachers that you think that would be fun for,
January, what is it?
is it January 16th? It's a Monday.
Oh, we actually have PD day that day.
Yeah, I think that's why we did it. There's
Yeah.
So Inman is sending I don't know, 10, 15, and I think Heston is sending some. And
Is it elementary through high school, or is it?
K-12, yeah.
Okay.
And that was weird. We were just split them out with elementary in one place and high school in another place. Everybody I have an ed camp team and a special learning dream team that are coming together in a district where teachers are planning it. And my dream team, I have a little logo for them because I pulled the dream team basketball dream team. So they really felt like the best collaboration happened out of that when we went to ed camp between elementary and high school. And so that's where they felt like they got the most ideas, and so they wanted to.
Okay. I have a quick question for you. On your Team Tuesdays, do you let each of those groups create their agendas, or is it kind of combined you and them, or do you totally?
I would love to get feedback on that. Right now, you have team leaders that we pay to lead the team. They have to get paid for a year. And part of their job description is to do an agenda and they put it up in a share folder, and we have assigned administrators for each team that are supposed to drop in. That's hard to do.
Right.
And so I kind of drop in and supervise them. I have certain things that they're supposed to focus on, like they're supposed to work on the 4 big questions of the PLC at every meeting, and they're supposed to share some sort of data at every meeting. That doesn't always do it. Just being honest, sometimes I feel like there's too much planning in the field trip.
So it's really.
And so I have to constantly coach my team leaders about how are you doing this. And so just yesterday we had our team leader meeting, and I told them how much money to invest in it, and it can't be
a waste of
time, and it can't be something because they're email. It can't be this has to be good planning. And so I think I have to do that about every 3 months, remind them. But I find that when I'm in there, the conversation changes. So I try to stay out of there more. Like the first year I was in there the whole time, and it was felt not very comfortable. Like I just could tell that they were really cautious with everything they were saying. And so I just started leaving.
Yeah.
But if somebody else has a great idea on how to do that, I would love to hear somebody doing that. Like how to supervise the teams, how to correction lead the teams.
Yes.
Yeah, they have to put an agenda in a shared document that's shared with all administrators and their team. And then they have minutes that they're supposed to take notes underneath their agenda, kind of like what you do like up here. But not a lot of there's not a lot of accountability. Yeah.
We have something like that in Cheney, which is at the elementary level. We have a curriculum day, and they get a full day, and it's four times a year, 2 times a semester, 2 times second semester, full day. And I'm in there just from the get-go the whole time. And we work half a day on my agenda or what I want to do. Sometimes it's a lot of follow-up meetings. From older PD, this would be the smallest teams. So I just follow up meeting with them during the first half day, and we look at data and look at all of those things. And then their afternoon is their collaboration time. They work on what about in the morning or.
And so do you do that? Is that like you do that for all teams, or do you do it just for core, just for grade level? Or
We do it for core teachers. Pre-K 5.
So elementary, PE,
Music and art.
Just
they-
core.
They don't get that.
Pre-K 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and K.
Yes.
You guys have been doing that forever. When I was there.
They meet during that too, but they don't get that. We have common plan.
Did you want to share anything else?
It's worked very well. I mean.
You've done that for years, because you were doing that at Cheney when Richard was
Yes,
there.
and
It
it
does
is
work.
very, very expensive. We used to have it every month, once a month,
Mhm.
and paper subs was just so expensive, so now it's twice each semester. But still, that's a help each other.
Right.
Really have to keep that focus on professional development and developing the curriculum and looking at curriculum maps. I mean, this is very much.
yeah, this is really, if you think about it, we do K1 through 5, and we rotate. That generally it's twice a semester. That comes out to be twice a semester.
Yeah.
It's really not that much. Like full day would be much more than a half day. Because we all know that it takes 25 minutes to do it all.
We spend a lot of time too. We really started relooking at our core and reading, and that's where a lot of our professional development has done this year. And in pre-K 2, it's our Pathways program. We spent a lot of time and effort relooking at that, reopening that, and organizing that, and then 3 to 5 prior reading. So we really spent a lot of our time on that this semester. And so those curriculum days, especially with Pathways, a program that needs so much organization to.
Pathways to reading.
Yes.
Yes.
To make it flow. And we spend a lot of our time getting things in notebooks, getting things organized, so that when the teachers are at the table, they're ready to go and we're ready to teach. And that was one of their complaints. We just don't have fun to get it organized. So giving them that time has really eased them.
Anything else you want to share while you're in the hotspot?
No, that's.
Okay, Kelly, how about you?
I'll bounce off of that. We're looking at how we can add the through the school year. The previous district I came from, Wichita, we actually were strategic I was part of the scheduling with middle school, and we were real strategic on how we scheduled. So the teachers were able to have a PD time twice a week. One of them was required with me, and then the other one was their team time where they discussed students, looked at data. They had to learn how to do that, but looked at data and kids they're concerned about, but they were by grade level in middle school. So it was a kid that had all the teachers in that subject, from all different subjects, and they really learned a lot from each other on what worked with this kid, with this teacher. But the one was a required set PD day, and it was 40 minutes weekly. And then the other 40 minutes twice a week, the other 40 minutes was their team time. And ours happened to be Monday, Wednesdays, because we had to collaborate with another school. But I would prefer Tuesday, Thursdays, and then Monday, Wednesday, Friday was their plan. So they did not buck that at all. And as long as some PD was district, focus, a non-negotiable. Some PD was teacher focused or building leadership team focus, or what. But I really tried to make it where they walked out feeling it was worthwhile, so then you didn't get the kickback. So, but and the other option I've seen that we've done there is either early release or late start once a month, so we could have PLC by grade level or by department, just to avoid having to pay for subs. So we're looking into different ways we can do it without having to pay. This year we are paying for subs, and I'm meeting with each grade level a half a day. Next semester it'll be our high school is working with our tech person during their Excel plan extra time, and it's on a rotation basis. So they're getting training with tech right now, so I'll get to touch them next semester. But we're just paying for subs to get it going. It's the first time they've actually had opportunity to collaborate and have some training.
How many times? I got some.
Our goal is once a month. At least we're starting with primary, but I've met with them only twice, every grade level twice this year so far. So that's not too bad. I'm not too far. But we won't have the money quite as much next year, so we're going to have to figure out another way. So, but very, very positive reception from the teachers too. So gave them a time to collaborate and talk. We still have specialists in that art, music, TV, library. Those are the ones I've not met with, which I would love.
I was just saying to you, what we do for our weekly PLC with elementary. Special.
Oh, yes.
To provide yet another special. Actually, if I'm on the library, in the library, provide another time special.
Okay. Yeah, I know we use our art, library, PE, all the specials. And that happened to be the teacher's PE time when the kids were in. Yeah, but we have not, in a smaller school, it's a little harder to do.
So do you just one elementary?
We do in Clearwater.
Yeah, because they have the elementary special learning time, they have a collaboration time open every day for the building. So that was being it.
Yes. Our middle school has paid. Yeah. Our elementary is the one that was not. Yeah. Yeah, and that would be awesome.
Thank you. Valley Center, Ms. Rebecca.
Okay. Well, one thing I don't know who all has switched over to Ames so far. Okay.
How's it going?
Okay. Well, just so you know, and I don't know if you'd be interested in this or not, but on November the 22nd, from 9 to 11:30, we are going to host just a networking session, kind of like this, nothing formal planned, although we know that one of the topics that we'll be talking about now is the progress monitor. So we had a session actually with some Mueller teachers as well as a Mains teacher that came over last week. I don't even know. I'm losing track of time. But anyway, that went really well, and one of the people contacted us and said, hey, can we do this again? Can we get together again? So if you're interested, like I said, it's really going to be all of us coming together. We can make a list once we get there of things we really want to talk about, and then we'll just go. So that's from 9 to 11:30. It'll be at our district office, which is 143 South Meridian in Valley Center, Kansas.
South Meridian.
9 to 11:30. So you might give me a heads up if you're coming, or if anyone's coming. I mean, it could be you said a teacher or something that's kind of helping to run the program or whatever. But anyway, I wanted to offer that. And one of the things that I sent this out on the curriculum listserv, we need to get some systematic writing in place. And we've just got it. I sent out a survey to my K-12 staff, and the information I'm getting back is not surprising to me. The two big areas in our ELA department that we really need to zone in on right now are writing and grammar. And I think I know which direction we're gonna go on both of those. Like, we're heading towards Shirley English again because my teachers love it and the kids learn. And then we're also looking into Lucy Hawkins. I'm wondering if any of you are doing.
She's good.
Okay, so I need to talk to you. Your what district? McPherson. Okay, let me write that down. Yes. That's it.
She's,
Oh, Robbie?
I'm gonna
See, that is
destroy
what I
this
needed
thing.
to find out, so. So, and what's your district? No, Clearwater, okay, so, and Clearwater, so what are you? what
we
are you-
actually, it's, here at 12, we're working on the Lucy Hawkins is someone I love and when we work here, that's who I use all the time. KA mainly is.
Right, and that's what I'm looking at right now.
But we're bringing in, we're aligning right now, but we're not quite ready to look at resources. But she is number one. We just talked about her last night to another district too about bringing, she has videos that kids can watch.
Right,
and
right.
Teachers watch them. She's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
She has books, but she has current books. Pathways is one of her current books too.
Okay.
So that, okay, were you on the listserv? Somebody mentioned that some of the listserv. Yeah, and that she said their teachers were thrilled with that. So,
Okay.
I'll put the link to them on that website.
Yeah, can you just,
yes.
Yeah, I'll just-
you can even just put it right here, like, I probably destroyed that name, I don't know.
So the step up to writing is it?
That's what those are called.
Hey,
No,
no,
Lucy
you.
Hawkins is
No,
units,
you.
units that you-
KALKI. No, you.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
You're
So-
close.
The step up to writing, so you are not using that yet. The problem with that is really, it's like having on the PD, which is not a bad thing, except when you do that.
You can pick and choose units too.
Uh-huh.
So that's what we have to do.
Okay, so there's two different groups. Was there another hand of using Lucy Hawkins over here? No? Okay.
We are gonna bring in, the rainbow writing as well. And let Judy, and present because the grammar piece is what they're wanting. They hesitant to buy a grammar book. I just, right. So we're gonna bring her in because we're trying to do writing across the curriculum.
Yeah.
And if anything, she's gonna help the social studies teachers,
And who is she?
She created this Reading Rainbow resource. I just went blank with her last name. She's on. I've known her for years, but she created Writing Rainbow, and she's presented at Stanford University, other countries, everywhere, and she's really reasonable. They don't know how it's her own curriculum. She created it. We looked into creating Reading Rainbow together, and she's kind of dabbling with that. It's all brain-based, multi-sensory kind of, with highlighters. And I'll tell you what sold me. She taught middle school through all of this and still presented. But my oldest son dated a gal his freshman year in college who happened to have had her in middle school. And they're at the dining room table working on papers together. They had the same composition class in college. She was using rainbow writing with highlighters in college, teaching him how to write better. So if there's something they learn in middle school and they're using it still in college, it must work. And that is an area that's really hard to get kids to be good writers. I mean, it's just really hard. I'll pull her name up. It's terrible. I've known her forever and it's brain lock on Judy. I'll pull it up and give you her name.
That should,
She's very reasonable. She'll even do a little overview to see if you're interested first. But she provides a curriculum, and I'm doing a lot of the printing, so it's gonna save us.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's really my next.
It's
thing.
more an approach versus a.
Right,
Yes, it's so they can use whatever they have and use this approach. And Spanish teacher
Uh-huh.
can use it in Spanish and correlate it with English. I was trying to find a way to help the second-year Spanish teacher.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, she hasn't ever tried that, Judy. She says, oh, let's work on it. Let's make it work. So I will get that name in a minute. Okay. Yeah.
Smoky Valley.
Well, let's see.
Judy Henry.
Regarding the KISA material, that's a little bit on topic, but we had a professional development day on Monday of this week, and I created a breakout EDU game on KISA.
Ah,
And the staff at Smoky had not really dealt with KISA at all, so it's kind of intended to be an introductory sort of activity. So about 70 staff broke up into 7 different teams of 10 staff each. The challenges in the breakout game were pretty simple. It probably took about 35 to 45 minutes to run the game simulation. Primarily, they focused on the a comparison of what the old QPA model looked like versus KISA. There was a challenge regarding the 5-year cycle, understanding what happens each year. And there was a third challenge that was connected to the Board of Ed's definition on successful graduate and dealing with those characteristics, those 5 characteristics. So I had 1 or 2 staff that were familiar with Breakout, but for the most part, nobody has really used that at all. So that was kind of another strategy there, was just kind of introduce another technique. So anyway, yeah, I thought it went pretty well. Had some good feedback from folks. I don't know how deeply we got into KISA information per se. There's only so much you can control in that scenario. You're not presenting information. So, but I thought it went pretty well. And if anybody's interested in seeing the challenges and the game design that I created, I'm glad to share it. Got it all on Google Drive. I'm glad to push it out.
yeah, if you just share that with me, then what I'll do is I'll link it right here to this, then all of you can go in and take a look. Thank you. Peabody Burns.
We are looking at career recruiting and for doing our professional development on that. And then with our high school, middle school, and elementary school, and just keeping that. And we for the one thing for our staff development as well. And it's done pretty well. They were excited about new groups. They've crossed grade level groups, so and building groups. And they were able to give input into their thoughts on the outcomes and instructions that we should put.
Kevin Haven.
I'm gonna go with the question group.
All right.
Keyboarding, question about, probably all over the place, but where it's introduced, where it's, what program you're using, et cetera. We really have to nail something down. I guess just looking at feedback, is that something you want to do now, or?
Yep.
Okay.
Anybody?
We're looking for what other people.
You can just share what you got.
We have the right, and they're the ones we have are obsolete, so as they go, we're not replacing them, it's the elementary level. And so, as a card of 30 becomes a card of 24, becomes a card of 18, and we're like combining and having fewer and fewer. So we're also, as that's happening, we're increasing the effort of those. So now we're just using a lot of the free, and that's how it is on our curriculum now, just free online tutoring programs. We have a menu that we give teachers and they can choose from there. Actually, I can.
Maybe you can send that link and I'll just stick it in there.
Yeah.
Right.
That's great.
We have some basic expectations at first grade, but kind of more serious. I'm gonna send you Alexander's keyboarding and small, what we put together.
I'll stick them all in here.
We start in kindergarten, we have basic, just very basic, like in kindergarten, our goals are to identify all letters on the keyboard, including capital letters, numbers, punctuation mark, and space bar, and then identify a mouse and use it to click and double click and identify the home row keys. So it's just very basic. And then we go all the way up. So let me.
Yeah, we typed one.
Basically, we're introducing kindergarten first.
Did you say you paid for that thing, or did you use the free slide?
Dance Net's free.
Yeah,
Dance
Dance
Net
Net
Rental is free. Yeah, my gosh.
That's what I'm saying.
We use the ISTE, and I'll give you my curriculum maps where at what grade level I believe we start at kindergarten. It's very getting familiar really with the keyboard. And one thing that we tried to do is make sure that when we purchased our devices, when making that decision, is to have that smaller keyboard for the younger kids so their hands would fit comfortably onto the keyboard. And then as they get older, possibly having a larger device. Most of ours are smaller now, but we do start at kindergarten, but it's pretty basic, but we do follow those, not ISTE, I'm sorry, the NETs, kind of use the NET standards to determine what we're doing at different grade levels, and I'll share that with you. Okay. You can type in here, because you notice that I don't have very good, I dropped out of typing in high school, so my typing skills are shabby. Good word, I guess. So feel free to type your stuff in here. Don't be shy.
We use typing.com, I think, at 4th grade.
Oh, what happened? Okay, so I will add when we have a break, I'll take those documents and dump them in here so you can all access them. One thing, make sure that when you're I'm trying to remember how it works, make sure that people will have access to it. So if you're sharing it, you know how sometimes the documents won't open up because I'm not the owner. So make sure that you've made it a document that's available, like to anybody that has the link, or people want, I don't think they'll be able to open it, or they'll be asking or requesting access to it.
Where's that document? I'm on my Google Drive. I don't know if I'm on.
Our meeting agenda?
Yeah.
Go back. It's in our SDAC folder, and then it's under meeting agendas.
Okay, fine. The 2016-17 SDAC folder, and what I only see two documents.
But when I put it from that email.
So I don't think I have the right folder. I don't know if you can.
This is what the folder is. It is, I'll share it again with everybody. It is this one right here.
Okay.
I don't know that folder either.
All right. I guess I'll share it again.
Oh, wait, meeting agendas, I might have it.
Now you do.
Hey, can you change that so anyone can edit?
Yes, I was going to do that. That's a lesson you learn. Oh, come on.
Thank you.
Yeah. And it should be already set that way. I think I changed it last time when people couldn't add. So, okay. Of course, now, there we go. All right, everybody, you should have it now. If not, we'll figure it out. Great. Okay, McPherson, your turn.
How many of you are AP? We have a AP trainer coming out November 28th for English and Arts. So that's our most important. Any need for that? Let me know.
And are you doing, just ELA?
Yes.
So are you doing the literature AP? or
I'm
the-
reading it both, so all of it, I'll have
So
my
it'd be
middle school both, we divide up into literature.
And
If you have any need for that, or filling the need, I don't know if you guys look over everything, wanting to get everybody. Whatnot. And at the elementary level, we're using Katie Perez this year. She's been working with us this year. Reading everything we're doing literacy wise. And she's taking in and did a whole group training in smaller piecemeal. So we had breakout sessions. First of the year, everybody was required to choose one of the areas to go to. Started her off like that, and then we got a leadership team where I have 2 teachers from every building, also meeting with her to just get back on the same page and recalibrate how you have to do it. With what we've been doing, and then she will now starting this month going in and tell you the coaching with that group all throughout the year. And this was the training coaches going in to see some of that so they know what they're looking for when they get into the classroom. And those teachers will become and model classrooms for us in the following years. We also have Katie to do our PD time with 2 days throughout the year. She's coming in and to do everybody. So kind of everybody gets some, this group is a lot, and then they'll be the people who continue that out. Really good. She's a very science person, but she's really good. She'll start to start too. One more time, who you have to come in and build these problems. It was Robbie Ostrom. She actually came to do writing, and we got this help with writing and get it out of what she came to do. She brought it from here. Ostrom.
Mindy,
Responded very well.
thank you.
Our big thing right now is we are really concentrating on our management study, especially since we're 12th grade, and we're trying to revamp our conferences. So I would love people's how you schedule conferences. You're thinking about going into a 47, 47, 1, 7 type week, where you'd actually have school 47, have school 47. We take Wednesday off because that's for tonight. Thursday come in 1 to 7, and then have teacher pay that on Friday. We need more evenings because
Right.
our point is not to have conferences to have grades anymore. Because parents check grades all the time. Our point is to be about individual clinical study and have a student plan. So I would love to know how people schedule their conferences and what you do about your coaches.
That has been.
You know, 'cause I get that asking the football coach to miss practice 3 days is a bit much, but how do you handle your coaches during conferences?
Our coaches are expected to be there, so we've kind of changed our time frames so that they can have a conference, and then they have got to be in their seats ready for conferences.
So when do they have, what are your hours of conference?
Oh, it's just the stuff that our interestingly, our high school is now getting out much earlier, like 2:35. So they were able to have practice 2:45. So even your schedule was working that. That made a difference this year. But we had middle school teachers complaining about high school teachers. So
And
there
Or early
There are
practice.
gonna be nights that there's games.
And
Yeah.
then if there's a game or something like that, then that's absolutely that you do after practice, now you figure something out.
Even AM practices,
Yeah,
like an
morning,
early
yeah,
morning
yeah.
practice, depending on, the season and what's going on, but
Yeah.
we used to do that.
But we have also reduced our night, if you're looking at individual things, we have advocates to do that. But we've reduced the middle school, high school, the number of conference night, instead of getting more, we were reduced, and our teachers keep a log, and they are required to make phone calls, contact two parents throughout the semester, and log that for their hours. Like, we don't know how you check the elementary privacy, and do that anyway.
We go on 5 to 8:30 twice a week. Night, and then, because we school day, it's school day, 5 to 8:30, those are long days, and then we have Friday off. But when we moved to the IPS, the problem becomes, you have a coach who's got, like, this year, games on both nights. Well, I mean, they've kind of had a little pushback about that, like, but we said, you're getting paid for both. You're getting paid to coach, and you're getting paid to teach conferences. So that means you're gonna have to schedule your conferences with the parent another day. You have to do Friday then, because you're getting paid for both, or you can take it annually. But so that we had to come up with a really, like, because I know that it seems like a lot. I mean, but you are getting paid for that job, coach, and you are getting paid for your conferences. You get a day off, so we're not going to excuse you from it. And so that's a little rough. I'm not gonna lie. We have some unhappy people.
So what kind of training have you felt like you need to give teachers when you move away from the traditional, more about plans of study?
Starting,
Yeah,
we're doing it. We don't have enough career advocates or counselors for them to just take that on. But we're doing it during a seminar period. And so every seminar teacher would, have 20 kids and hopefully follow them the whole way through. And so we will have, training on, here's what you're going to talk about. Here's kind of a guide. And actually the students are going to come to our conferences. It should be more student-led. But that will be a work in progress.
Are you training in-house?
Yes. And we're not there yet. But when we do get there, I'll share.
But do you have a seminar now where you and has it, like for us, I feel like that encore time to evolve during the high school level. I mean, I feel like it's been another plan.
a waste.
Ours is, right now, ours do AR in that time. And it's a short, it's not a full period. Right? And class meetings and all of that, but religion, we're going to hold sacred that Wednesday is IPS Career Studies Day. And that's what everybody's doing. Here's your plan for this Wednesday. Here's what you're going to cover. So they're not going to have to plan anything. We're going to still feed it to them. How we're going to get started. It may all blow up in our face.
We started off like that. That was our original plan. And it just, teachers were great.
And we've had that. Yeah, we've had that discussion.
And that's,
And that's why we're not pending our counselors or career advocates with anyone yet. Because we want them to be able to travel. Like, I have this teacher that is not doing it, they can tag to.
kind of provide some support or
Yes. And have another
encouragement
person there to
or a co-teaching
say,
type
hello, you're
situation.
not doing your job. So,
We kind of did that. We have some guiding questions we created like for years. We have guiding questions and we created a folder for the teachers. And it's not scripted because that's not what it's supposed to be about. But
right.
it gives you some, like, these are some topic questions you can ask. And then we have enrollment, we have all the data in Google Shared Docs. When we're using Scriptly, that we're probably not for our PS or for our IPS information right now, we're causing it on Google Shared Docs. And then we did kind of what you're saying, so we started Share. We have our administrators and our counselors, and then we also have teacher leaders that said, I believe in this so much that if you would like me to come help you, I will. I'll do mine and I'll help you with yours. And then if they're not comfortable with it, they can have somebody come in. We only have 3 teachers do that. The rest is fine. And then one that I thought would be the worst.
No, but
Maybe
that's
when you-
That would struggle with it. That would struggle with it.
and they took it so serious. They're like, I don't know the answer, but I will get back to you on that. And they run down to the counselor and, like, okay, so they're planning on going to college, they want this, and this, can they do that? So they get back. And he said, oh my gosh, I learned so much about our school. Like, I had no idea we had all these offerings.
I anticipate that too, the ones that I think won't be very good, I think will be once they get into it. Because I think many of them have kids of their own right now that are going through this.
Also, on the conferences, do you have those teachers several times?
Yeah, they're given 5 to 8:30, but they can schedule any time that works for them. They just have to schedule. And then, right, because they're responsible. So then, and we also found out that it didn't work very well originally. The best way it works to schedule it is to share out to send parents. Each teacher should put a Google Doc they can go in and sign up for to call and like it was kind of confusing. So they said these are the times that I am available as a teacher. I mean, they could come during a planning period during the day. I mean, they give them all like these days, but they give them sort of a week time frame to get them done. And I'm available this time, or you can come, right after school because I'm available after school. So we say that it's 5 to 8:30, but you can do it.
You randomly assign students.
We do it this seminar. We have this seminar for years.
But you
Well, we kind of contemplated a couple different ways. We haven't decided. You're going to use all freshmen this year and just random. Or we've also talked about kids with interest in business, matching them up with a business teacher, and kids with interest, And so you might have seniors and freshmen in the same class, but what they would be able to share with each other would be very valuable. So we haven't really decided yet how we're going to do that.
Are you using this?
We are not yet.
We use NavNet, it has a curriculum component, so we start off like that, we build it.
Right.
And then the curriculum piece messes that up.
Yeah, because it's by grade.
Just to make that.
Mhm. If you're doing career, because it's set up by grade.
For seminars, we do,
Right.
or next week.
And if you have career cruising, the lessons are specific, like there's a set of lessons for 8, 9, 10, well, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Not that you couldn't, but if you want to kind of keep it streamlined, that might be something. One thing we haven't gotten there yet, but one idea we thought about, and I know every high school has different staff, and how receptive they are might be different from one school to the next, but if we end up doing our IPOS during our seminar time, which is 45 minutes every day, say once a week or once every other week, if we really feel like that's the right way we're going to go, and we have a handful of teachers, say 10, that we're worried about as far as robbing those kids of, because that teacher's not going to take it seriously and they're not going to do a good job, is using Zoom and setting up kind of like what we're doing here where that counselor would conduct and facilitate the session, and then you would have a teacher in the room, and maybe it takes 15 minutes for them to go through, and not for everything, but say that they're introducing career cruising and they want to take them on a tour of career cruising. So that counselor, goes through it with them. Everybody in our district has, the capability to do that. They have the link like we have here today. And then she goes through that. Then say for half the session that, the Zoom is over, and then that teacher is facilitating the rest where maybe the kids are going in and completing some different activities. So not that would be done all the time, but maybe with some of those more difficult activities that are in there, maybe having that counselor facilitate those. The curriculum pieces, they're done. They're in there. So you put that in the schedule and you say, week 2, you're going to do this particular lesson, and hopefully that teacher can facilitate that on their own. But those were just some ideas we were thinking about, maybe a way of pushing it out instead of, I don't know. We haven't decided yet, but that was just one of the options we had discussed. So I don't know. Our big thing is you don't want to rob a group of kids, especially if you're going to put them with that person for 4 years. That's kind of my concern. And there's just a handful, and you never know. Like you said, the ones you were worried about end up being the best ones, and you just don't know. But I,
The idea of being 5 years, but then I'm thinking, our district, we have a lot of families that have kids. And then so they're having to.
So that was, that was one of our big complaints on IPS from families. Is that I have 3 different kids, and I had to come 3 different times, which I kind of laughed, because like you spent less time on those 3 kids than you would have went waiting to talk to 21 teachers.
And elementary.
I know,
It should change.
it is a change.
but really, if you have kids at different grade levels, they should be kind of talking about different things with each student. So it shouldn't be just this, here's all 4 of your kids, sit down, we're gonna get, because what that freshman needs, what that parent needs to know about at the freshman level might be different than if they have a senior and what you're truly looking at and wanting and what you should be doing.
How many years now, and parents love, it's about their kid, it's so different than it used to be. It's about their kid, they love it. I mean, so when they go, we find that they change, so freshman or sixth grade, much different than by the time they're junior and then ready to college. Those, and it may be more often, but again, we have advocates that do those things. Those might be way more often than they have to have it happen, because we're making phone calls to colleges. So some of the things we're talking about, when you're having your teachers, our teachers do the curriculum piece, so
That's easier.
but to actually sit down and have like conversations about an individual kid's future plans and just the family to be about a kid. You won't be able to do that with a teacher. And that's very different. Because we're saying, okay, you're having this problem, let's call the admission office, have a conversation, we're guiding you to do some of that. We're not doing that. And they become much more intense
As they get
as
older.
it gets close to the time to leave us.
So do you still have 2 career advocates?
We have 3 career advocates at the high school and 1.5 counselors. And in middle school, we have 3 in their combination. They do both counseling and the academic piece as well.
Max.
Yes, we're, what I'm really looking for is intervention materials for math. Math intervention materials. And we adopted the Envision, and yeah, it comes with the little black box of intervention. But we need more. I mean, that's not enough. So that's what I'm currently looking for.
Cool websites for math, like I use in my intervention for math is like Prodigy. Math is really cool, and the kids really like that. And then the other one we use is Moby Max.
Yes, I've heard of that one.
That's what we're
Uh-huh.
using. But the
Moby Max.
Prodigy is a new one that I just found that the kids love it. It's game, but yet they have to do a math problem and it adjusts to their level. So I like that about it. And it raises as they get right. And then it teaches them too, so that you don't have to stop teaching. It is free.
What did I get it?
Learn Zillion.
Oh, learns it. Okay.
It's not a intervention program, but it's online and you can use it for pre-teaching, reteaching, but it's like you're looking at a specific standard, pull up that, and it's kids talking through a video lesson, which is really nice, and then there are materials to go with everything.
Yeah, I think we've used that a little bit, but we have MTSS, we have the reading, we've been doing that for years, but we're just adding that math, and we're just coming up with, it's just hard to find a really good intervention.
I'm familiar with iReady, which I use iReady, and I'm not sure how expensive it is. It's fine. We just used it for our tier 3. And the cool thing about that, I did learn it for 1 year, but the cool thing about that was it'll take the kid and assess them at their grade level, and then it comes up to where their basic foundation skills are. And it's that, say it's fractions, it spirals down to the foundation skill they need in order to meet that grade level standard. So it is very personalized, and you can choose the voice and the character and all that. So, and this is middle school when they got into it. But
We just use it for our tier 3 since it was expensive, but it even had neat charts and growth data and all that too. But
I just typed that in there. I visited with her to really get a feel for what that is. And it's been a while, but because it costs money, and we determined that it wasn't a good fit for the purpose, for the intent that we wanted it for, but it might be worth checking into. And they just finished that last year. So it's not free like the iStation reading is with the grant, but it is another component of iStation. Yeah, we like the reading.
the movie Max too, we a teacher came across that in science, and he was kind of an average teacher. And he used that as a supplement, not as a teaching, their lesson. And then the word got out, so our math teacher tried it, and the Moby Max math did similar to what iReady did. And it was freer. They piloted it. It was much, much cheaper.
Yeah, I know we've used it in the past, and then.
But it can't be your curriculum. It has
No.
to be your supplement.
The other thing we're looking at is we're up for social studies adoption for K-12. So I know that, I think it's more, or maybe, I don't remember. One of them's not coming out till December, but. That's CCI science last year for. Oh. For elementary.
Social studies or science? Social studies?
Science.
Okay. TCI.
High school social studies is interested in TCI. That's, we're looking at that one as an option, and then, are you familiar with that Studies Weekly that has the little paper? That's the one I was. And
My
so-
teachers don't like it.
Our teachers, yeah, I liked it. The teachers did.
I have a couple of.
We got it and they don't like it.
They love it.
I don't know. I need to look at feedback.
Last year, but next year, they're gonna go all digital, so they will get flyers. There's something about the flyers that teachers like, and they're like, if we don't have the flyers, we don't wanna do it, because everything is something. And it's easier to, like, not to say, look at this website.
I just got that email. We heard that it's just going to be all digital, so I hadn't gotten an email back. So there's good and bad with that, but because something about they like that
I like that.
for whatever.
And I think there's paper stuff that. I think
Easier.
They do that when they're gonna be covering sometimes. 25 minutes, they're like, oh.
Mhm. Good to know. Anything else? What's TCI stand for? If I type in TCI, would it pull up?
Teachers Curriculum Institute.
Yeah, graded by teachers.
Okay.
That's Florida.
Okay, very good. Okay, May, it's your turn. What you got for us?
At the secondary level, we are looking at the high school social studies and middle school math. So I'd really like any input on middle school math that we have as far as what
My kids really happy with that right now.
That's
My
what we
kids are
do
really
too.
happy with digital. Digital.
We use Go Math and they like it. We got this Go Math.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Digits, they really like it. And they cleaned it up. Like when we got it, it was brand new adoption, and you know how it is with the technology, it always takes a year to get rid of the bugs. Well, the bugs are gone now, so.
So for middle school, when I say that, is that 6, 7, 8?
Actually, we're
We
using,
did.
it's the 6-8 program, and, but we are using Go Math K-8. We adopted it last this is our second year. And, see, we only did a 3-year adoption only because we're waiting to see what the state's gonna do with the standards. We didn't want to get locked in 6 years with it out knowing that everything's up for review again, and God knows what's gonna happen. Now, I know, right? So we might be starting all over again. But anyway, so we're in our second year, but our middle school team particularly has really liked it a lot. So.
Anybody else? What are we using at middle school for math? If you have something new, I guess, at middle school.
It's just a Envision.
Yep.
It's just the middle school version.
It's the, okay, that's good to know the name of that.
Yeah.
We have Envision at the elementary.
And that's Envision 2.0, which is different than the original.
What about social studies? We adopted last year and we did the whole, whole Houghton Mifflin. That's what they like, and they've upgraded just the whole Houghton Mifflin social studies at the high school.
Well, I'd like to talk about that because
That's an area that would be easy.
my
And it
social
is
studies
taken.
teachers would like a resource, but our superintendent pretty much said we're not adopting books.
And that's
in
what
social
that's
studies ever again.
Which I understand that at elementary, but I still struggle a little bit at the older, but we're still kind of in that transition phase of moving. And we even have one-to-one. Well, a lot of the problem with when you're doing adoptions and they still haven't moved out of this is when you're depending on the company that you're adopting with, but say that we adopted Houghton Mifflin Holt, whatever that program is, well, I could just go digital, but it costs me just the same amount of money to go digital as to get the hardbound. So we use the digital pieces, not so much because we have a one-to-one at our high school, but here's the other issue. You can't just order a classroom set of them because then you don't have licenses for all the kids. They're working it. They know. That's the problem. Because then by the time you add the other, there is no cost benefit to you. They know what they're doing.
See, we
So
created
you
a
recommend
middle school, like,
digital?
and just get a classroom.
No, you can't do that because the classroom set, unless you work a deal,
I do the same thing.
where you just work a deal and they'll give you the
Because,
extra.
well, we went till 6 days, all digits is all digital.
Mhm.
And so we got a classroom set, look at the high school, did the classroom set about one, classroom set about straight, classroom set about straight.
Part of that was, kids that get Chromebooks taken away, they need to look.
Right.
Yeah.
We have to have classroom stuff.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
some of our kids, for whatever reason, need.
Yep. Just make sure you talk to your vendor and try to work a deal.
Whatever, just work the deal.
But it doesn't automatically, don't just
No.
think automatically if I'm gonna order a classroom set, then everybody else can get it digitally. You have to have that conversation with that vendor about working a deal. Can you give me these extra digital licenses, even if we don't purchase the hardbound?
So since we're on this topic, can we just, I'd like to just hear what you guys are using for lunch, ours is just teach.
Same.
Collections.
Collections.
I wish there was an elementary version of it.
What is this?
Collections. Their elementary version, which is not the same as Journeys, but that company, and that's what we use. Houghton Mifflin, Harcourt, whatever, you know how they're all, Karen, I'm sorry. Collections is Houghton Mifflin, Harcourt, Holt.
You said Karen, I bet you were.
Karen Hyman is probably all of.
We've looked at all of those, Journey, Green Street, Blenders. They don't want a basic reader. Don't want a basic reader. So now we're looking at Literacy by Design. We've looked at collections. We've looked at my warehouse has, I think the last time I counted, 10 different samples. And we still have not found ones that they like. Literacy by Design appears to be maybe the front runner right now.
That's what we have to do.
It's like Docu DLA is a lot harder than Docu Math.
We use Pathways to Reading for K2 in addition to Journeys. There's like a marriage. It's not, no, it's just the two components. We use it as it's not a supplement. They use that to teach the phonemic awareness and the phonics, and then the Journeys piece to do the
We
other.
have K2 Pathways, which I have been maybe a Danny mentioned. It's so expensive. Every time I turn over a teacher, it's a huge investment. And then
Yeah.
I don't think that and now it's been like 5 or 6 years since they've been trained in it, and I think the fidelity program is out the window.
We just got it.
Like, what the heck?
We trained a trainer in our district, so you pay for that up front, and then they're doing all of our future training.
We spent 23 of our things.
Mhm.
This year, and then we hired Jamie Stewart to come in for the first 2 days to train all
Right.
the two staff.
I know, like that's, you know, when you think about a resource, and you figure out that, how much money you put into that resource, wow. Like.
They have a trainer model, and I just sent 2 people through it. So you pay for that $5,000 or whatever to get that expert trainer in your district. Then you don't have to bring Jane out. You don't have to pay for that anymore, because then they can do all of your formal training for, you know, when you have a new teacher come in, they have to be trained 5 days. If you want them to go on to Pathways 2, that's another 3. And you're paying $300 to $500 a pop every time you send them. But not if you have, that's why we switch, because now, and you can do it during the summer if you have your own person. And yeah, there's an initial cost up front. I'd have to look, because we're still going through it at maybe $3,000 to $5,000, but that's nothing. If you think about in the long run that you're going to have those 2 people or that one person do all your training, not Jane anymore, and you don't have to pay that $500 a pop to get them trained. So if you really value Pathways to Reading and you don't want to abandon it, but you can't afford it, that might be you might visit with Jane about it, because they just started doing this.
Yeah, I talked to her last year, and I kind of estimated out, we'd have to turn over, I think I want to say 7 teachers to have it pay off.
But
I think that's about right.
if you're like me, and probably like Cheney, if you've been using it a while, I have probably over a half of my teachers that were trained in the older. So I'm requiring next summer, because now we have our people. Everybody's going through formal training again, except for the people that have been trained in the last 2 years, because they've been trained in the new. Because it's a fidelity thing. And we've even had Jane come out and do some refreshers, but we just really feel like everybody needs to go through that training again, because it's been so long, and bless their hearts, they're not trying to do it wrong. It's just been so long since they've gone through that training that they just, you know how it is. It has evolved, yeah. Mhm.
And then they.
Right, because so now what's happened is they don't have fidelity, so now all my children just work with it. And so with this new reading adoption, it'll be interesting to see whether or not.
And if it covers that.
We're doing better.
Because that, a lot of the training that we do with teachers, and that's the big question. Pathways to really work with that community.
It's very difficult, so I'm getting a lot of like.
It is, it's made for a basal couple.
Oh, that'll be.
Okay, yeah.
There's a lot of questions.
We were using Pathways, but then we kept running into that, getting those new teachers trained.
Mhm.
And that became
It's a
such a
constant
headache.
battle.
And
But
so
it's
we had a
good.
teacher on staff that had done facts and phonics. We looked at that, it's scripted, so if we have a new teacher come in, we don't have to worry about that training, that's just too hard. And we're talking, we only have 1 teacher for each grade, K through 6, and it was just too hard. We loved Pathways, it was great, but now that we've been doing Saxon now for a good 6 years, and honestly, we think maybe we've got better readers than what we had, and we didn't think there was anything better than Pathways. I mean, that's how we loved that, but then it just became, this teacher
Overwhelming.
was doing it, but then this teacher wasn't, and then the 3rd grade was back to doing it, and we couldn't have that. I mean, everybody doing the same thing, so maybe the piece is that everybody does the same thing is more important than.
With fidelity.
Yeah, the fidelity piece might be the most important part of the whole science.
It's not new, but I still use Martin Gillingham.
Which is part of that reading pathway. It's the same family.
And we use
They're
it for
great.
his father. Yeah, and if
Mhm.
you can send
You guys still
people
use
for that, I mean, it's an approach versus a curriculum.
Right.
I have yet to find anything more powerful.
Mhm.
And it's brain-based, meaning it really, and every curriculum I've looked at for reading, even in Wichita, if you look at the founders, Martin Gillingham was in,
Every time.
because, but, I mean, to be really trained by the Martin Gillingham trainers, I mean, it made a huge difference. And we can
It's in
vouch for that.
Renwick and been there. But that, it requires training too.
You have to have a good and fidelity.
And they had a trainer. I mean, again,
It's amazing.
they had
Problem
people
is
that did.
with that,
It's
to get
expensive.
it's expensive, and to get every single teacher trained.
It's,
Right.
it's,
uh,
it's just
takes
the
7
same
days,
problem.
And you can't make them take 2 weeks out or something.
Mm-mm.
And we looked at just training our tier 3. But then again, you go, okay, are you gonna be tier 3 teacher? Or if you have reading specialists, definitely them, or title teachers, definitely them. We could not probably afford to do, I would focus on my kindergarten teachers if I could, and my title, but we're fortunate enough, we have one trained at the middle school, and their data is phenomenal. And she's, she's kind of the lead for reading for the staff. But yeah, I have yet to see anything that even comes close to that, but the training is out great.
Yeah. Okay. You said you didn't want to share anything?
Well, I kind of based it on.
Okay.
I was just gonna ask about social studies.
Okay.
They got it.
The only thing we've been focusing on IPOS and kind of working, we've been coming to some of Jody's workshops that she has, and really just trying to figure out, put together an implementation plan ours has 10 components and different things that so your counselor and your principal and say me are working to figure out how are we going to make this work in our building. They have a focus on how are you going to do roll out the curriculum? How are you going to communicate information to stakeholders? How are you going to, the family engagement piece, the scheduling. So it's all in there. So as they are moving forward, they have kind of some structure to what they're going to do. I think this is my belief, and I don't know if you all have encountered this, but that people just think, oh, we're going to get career cruising and then that's going to take care of it. I don't think many times they understand the complexity of all of the planning that's going to have to go into place, and like PD is one of the components. So once you figure out what you're going to do, what professional learning has to occur to make sure that when teachers are leading a conference or when they're delivering the curriculum or doing career cruising things with the kids, they have to know what they're doing. So that's where I feel like until, and we're going to work more with it next week, but until they get a true picture or see that bigger picture of, you've got a lot of work to do between now and when you're going to implement. And if you're planning on implementing next year, not in 18, which we are, maybe not full-fledged at the high school because it doesn't have to be until 18 now, but you have to have all these things pretty much in place by February, because scheduling at the high school, I mean, it all happens like right after Christmas. So you've got this amount of time to figure out what you're going to do. So that's where we're at, and I think we have a good implementation plan, kind of an action plan in place. Now they've just got to figure out what they're going to do with that.
So we use the career cruising too for the full package, and we're using it for enrollment as well.
Mm-hmm.
That has taken counselors almost a year to get everything
Right.
in there, and it's time consuming. A ton of time, so it isn't a fast process.
No. And I know, like, our hope is to purchase the career cruising piece by, get it approved in December. So then career cruising, if you talk to your rep, and Chris is out, and there's another gal that's in his place right now. I'm not sure why he's not there, but they'll give you access in January. So our hope is from January till the end of the year, they have that time, which sounds like it's not enough, but to go in and take care of all that business that needs to be taken care of before you implement. It just doesn't magically happen. You know, a kid doesn't just log into career cruising and it's all magically. There's a lot that goes into setting things up and getting things ready to go. So that's kind of a frustration of mine, is that I'm trying to make sure that they understand that this is going to take some work and some time. I'm off my soapbox now. Anyways, that's kind of what we're focusing on now. Anything else?
Is that your district leadership team that's focusing on that, or did you have a select team?
For IPOS, or just picking career cruising, or the whole thing?
The whole discussion of, well, career cruising and your plan.
What
kind of the team that you?
We had what we tried to do, at least with the career cruising, and we started looking at it last year. And Navient and some of the Southwest Plains has an option. So kind of like when you do a curriculum adoption, we looked at the different online guidance systems that were out there. They chose to do career cruising, and that was me and the counselors at the middle school and the high school, and then the principals. The elementary was involved early on, but we chose early on we would not be purchasing that for the elementary. Doesn't mean they won't be doing the curriculum and the things up. They'll be involved in IPOS, but not at this level. So that was who the team was there. But in our implementation plan, each building is supposed to come up with like a little bit, a team that will help in the decision making about how they're going to roll things out to try to get some stakeholders at each building involved. So it's not just the one or the two counselors and the principal, and definitely not just me. That's what I can't get. I'm like, this is not my initiative. This is something you have to do in your building, and it has to work for you at the high school. And at the middle school, you have the same expectations, but how you do it may look very different than how you're doing it at the high school. So, all right. Anybody need a break? 5-minute break. Tanya, when we get back, do you want to share something? I forgot you and Max. Hey, when we get back, do you want to share?
I'm good.
Max, are you good, or would you like to share something when we come back from break?
I've enjoyed listening. I've got to run over to the
Okay.
cafeteria and get a signature from the principal. So
Okay. I didn't want to leave you out on purpose. You're being so quiet back there. I just kind of forgot you were sitting in. So, okay.
No worries.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I saw a field yesterday. I don't know if it's still green. It looks like. So you just. Yeah.
I do too. I like
Okay, you knew I would, right? Yeah, and people are very excited to go out. So. I don't think it's a good time though.
Can you believe Steph legally moved to Minnesota? I don't think she's working like right now. They have to stay there like for 3 years for a job. It was pretty much easy. They could either move there or there was one other place, so they picked there. And then, but I don't think she got it. I mean, she didn't apply for a job or anything. I don't know if she's subbing or what. I don't think she can yet. She didn't. If I remember right, because I remember asking Sarah's older than her. Huh? Sarah is closer to retirement. Sarah Pitts is closer to retirement than hers. Oh no. And I think it's because she quit teaching for a while when she had kids. That's why. Yeah.
I'll do it right now.
She teaches math and yeah, well, she does her same line. Right, so. I give her Georgia guys do some math.
So you allow.
Yeah, you don't have one. That's right.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started again.
But yeah.
Oh, but that's beautiful. You were my ideal. She actually.
Exactly where my picture is.
She does, whatever she had, whatever the science she did 2 years here. Okay, what day was what day? November 27th. I have 9:30, but,
I have it in the agenda. I typed it in there.
Yeah, Africa as well, and you went exactly what or whatever. So I should have, I'm not.
Yeah.
But I think what you do is whether you.
and I think that would work. Have a grade.
And then her grade teacher and
Okay, we are back. Tamara wasn't able to join us today, so she did type in the ESDAC update, so we'll go ahead and just briefly go through those. We wanted to remind you that on the 7th of December, the KISA Q2 training will be here at ESDAC. I know we got an email from, I think from KSDE too, about all the other options that are available in the state in case, for example, I can't come to the ESDAC one because I have a conflict. I think I'm going to Salina on Monday. So those are out there in case you're interested in participating and can get an update on the next quarterly information. Accreditation meetings. ESDAC does have an accreditation PLC for ESDAC members. They're doing it opposite of the superintendent's meeting each month. So the superintendents are here in the morning, and then they'll have that accreditation PLC in the afternoon. And really, it's a way for consortium members to kind of to provide those districts the ability or opportunity to collaborate and learn and plan and monitor progress of their accreditation process if they feel like they need that support. And then Cleela gave me this, and I'll put a link into the agenda too. She sent it to me of several workshops that are related to what she does that are going to be offered. I'll spend a lot of time on this just so you're aware. Looks like some are CTE, science, workshops in there as well. Any questions about anything that I need to type in there for Tamara or have her email anyone out or Cleela? Okay. The next topic is state assessments. What we try to do for this meeting is state assessments is always an agenda topic. Timely topics really is what we focus on. Where are we at? What are we doing right now with state assessments in our district? Whether it be communicating information out to our staff, setting things up in Kite, whatever's timely, that's what we talk about. So I put a Q&A on here first, and then I thought if we needed to, we could spend a little bit of time talking about the interims, the formatives, and those performance tasks that are available, and navigating that and figuring out where that's at, in case you haven't gone out and shared that information with your teachers that would be involved with that. So let's just start off with the Q&A. I know we went to the test coordinators conference. Most of you probably did. Has it been 2 weeks or a week ago? Attended different sessions. But as you left there, you know, what things are still burning? What are you maybe not quite understanding or that you have a question about? We'll just kind of, if everybody knows what you're doing, then we won't spend too much time on this. Anything from you gals about state assessments? Questions? It's just fine if you don't have any. Back table, anything?
I'm most interested about interims. I mean, get into that.
Okay,
If anybody's doing them, how it's working, what you're requiring.
we can have that conversation now, and then really what I have down there is just how to access them and the resources that are available. So you want to talk a little bit about interims? Go right ahead.
So we demoed we showed a little video and then practice setting up interims and going back to the buildings and started setting them up with teachers. And one barrier that we ran into, and I'm looking into it now, is when you build the interim assessment, looks like Holly has on the agenda, we'll go through that, but you select the test list you want, and then when you go to assign those to students, the teacher gives a list of rosters to choose from. So maybe my classes show up as ELA, KU Lane. But then there's another one that looks exactly like an ELA, KU Lane. And if you click on one, it might be your students from a previous year.
Oh.
It's like there's just a bunch of data inside that they need to clean out. So if you click through enough rosters, you'll find your current year's kids. And those are the kinds of things that drive teachers nuts.
Yeah, and they get frustrated with it.
Sometimes
I saw one of those that weird. And now I don't know. That's what I don't know, but I switched districts and I had my previous district in my
Yeah.
It's a clear one.
I sent screenshots of, when I opened this as a third grade teacher, these kids are actually in fourth grade now, and they was just previous year. And if I open this one, I do the exact same thing. I can find the current year's kids, and they just said, thanks for putting it out. Let's see what we can do. That was about 2 days ago.
Okay,
So
that's good
for
to know.
now, we're holding because we don't want to frustrate our teachers.
That's a good idea. I don't ever make any of it mandatory. I go out and I will share the information about the interims. We'll go through that. I'll show them the formatives, which are different, but can be used for a purpose as well. And then just showing them where the performance tasks are, if they want to use those. And then it's up to them. I don't mandate anything.
There is a PowerPoint. I attended that session. I'll look for it and send it to you. From KSCE conference, there's a PowerPoint that talks about how to create those. Did you download that too?
I didn't find the PowerPoint. I couldn't find the resources from the conferences, but there's a video now, so.
It was a really fast session that I just wrote on my notes.
Okay.
So I'll find that. I don't know if it's helpful or not, but
We'll put that in there as a resource. That would be
Yeah.
good.
it may not be.
I have a question, and I don't want to go down a huge can of so I did go out and I visited with teams of teachers about the data from last year, and this year I handed out those rubrics show like the learning descriptions that say like for category 4, this is what a student have to be able to do for a category. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was all great until I got to high school now. in math looked at the rubric, and they were like, this is so inappropriate. Like, their feeling is that that's what we teach in some of our like college algebra level classes, and we're assessing 10th graders, not even full year sophomores, on these concepts that seem way out of the realm of possibility. And I just want to know, is that just like my staff is awesome? Like we are on track, or are there other people saying that too? Or, I mean, only a quarter of the students in the state really pass that test. And so they look at that and they're going, something's off. Is it the performance assessment? No, I'm talking about just
The whole thing.
high school math, the computer, 10th grade. And I'm just wondering, are other teachers looking at that going, this is ridiculous, or is it just my staff? No.
I got feedback from our middle school staff last year. They thought it was way above. And social studies, our science teacher, she was livid. She said, this is, we don't even teach this in this grade, you know, and so she was really angry. But they provided feedback to the state, yes, they felt that it was very hard. And we had some phenomenal math teachers.
See, and that's, I'm looking at my high school. The team leader has served on every Common Core curriculum. She's practically written some of the curriculum, and she is out of her mouth. She said, this is what we teach in college. And I went, okay, you know what? I'll just email Randy Watson and let him know what you're saying. I mean, what am I supposed to do with it? Yeah, I haven't done it yet, but I'm like, I don't know, maybe what any.
We have really shared.
We didn't.
Our high school because
Well, and see, and that's what my staff wants to do as well. They put so much validity in that, not the Inspire, but the regular ACT, which we actually showed some improvement on this last year. And they're like, my high school math teacher did a correlation study last year between ACT and the state assessment scores, and there's none. But I mean, they're like, so what are we going for here? Say this with those people who have to correlate. They're doing it every day, so that we should. I'm part of that pilot.
The ACT correlation study.
I'm just curious.
I went through, obviously, because of my staff, so I went through the standards with my feedback with my high school teachers, partly because there's two reasons we did it. One was because I love math. And the second reason is because we were above the state average and everything for high school and all the grade levels of our buildings for math. And so that was kind of a concern. Like what? And so that's the reason we looked at it. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't have that contingency. But I would agree that the overall statement from me and the department is the cut scores and the expectations were above grade levels.
Okay. And see,
And I
and I
think that
value
would be
that because I know you're a high school math teacher at heart. So like you would know. It's just, I'm not. I look at those
I was on
standards.
those teams too.
Half of it's like reading a foreign language for me. That is not my background. I mean, look. So that's why I need you guys.
It was,
really have that
I feel like
background.
it was some of that stuff to be appropriately tested at the end of their junior year.
Well, see, and that's what my teachers are saying. They're like, why? First of all, this should have never been put down to 10th grade.
Right.
And
I would see, that's what they said. They said, this is appropriate for junior.
yeah, exactly. That's
For
exactly
junior
what my
and
teachers
trig
said.
and,
Yeah.
too, but really just the trig. There was a lot of trig on there, which I know that there's some trig and geometry standards right now. And the trig that's in geometry is rectangular geometry, and it's not circular geometry, circular trig, which okay. I was looking at everybody's faces, and I was like, I can tell you guys don't care at this point. Well, shut up now. I
I was like, you're right there in front of everybody. Right there. I thought you didn't want to hear. I didn't want to.
Okay. Anything else? Great discussion. Anybody else? Question?
I have a question, being new at my position, and I'm test coordinator. What, some of you probably have a tech person in charge of a lot of the setup with state assessment, but then there's also documentation in the kids, which I'm used to doing. What do you guys do as the test coordinator versus your tech people for documenting like the accommodations and uploading their data and stuff like that? I'm used to doing that, but I'm not used to doing some of the other stuff. And I'm not sure, we're kind of in transition, and I'm not sure what I need to be doing because of the laws with data and what the tech people can be doing for me.
No.
Okay.
And do you have building assessment coordinators or
No,
are you in?
I know.
You're in. Yeah, so in Valley, we have building assessment coordinators and I give them a form similar to what Maeve has given out. We collaborated on that. So they take that form and record students and what their PNP need, and then they are responsible for doing all the entering of that. But now, so you would.
I did that in Wichita for the large building. But I would do it as
Unless you had a principal or somebody help with that, I don't know.
But
Right, yeah.
We did that.
And that was even questionable about, I just want to hear, I don't want to do the tech part if you usually have tech people do it because I trust them. But I know that uploading them, like this, if we need the accommodations and all of that, probably me, which is
Right.
fine. But what can my tech, to make sure, in our building, our tech person dropped the ball. My husband and I were there over a weekend getting the computers, 350 computers ready for state testing. That, what is it that we are not responsible for?
The updates. Your tech people does that, the update of the Kite client, and like they push it out to all of our devices and make sure that that is set up.
We need to make sure, my question to them is, have you done
The update.
the updating?
Yes.
Yes, we checked on that.
My tech person also does like all of our data goes to
Kids or your secretaries would do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Oh, wow.
Amazing active teachers.
You let them do that.
She's a database coordinator.
Yeah.
We don't have that.
She's got a person.
We don't have a person.
Well, I have a tech person willing to do it, but I know that they're really strict with one person when we went to ASB, one person is your tech coordinator and gets the data and all of that, but.
I think in some districts, it depends. Like I have, even though I'm the test coordinator for the district, at the high school and the middle school level, my counselors also serve as their building test coordinator. At the elementary, the principals serve as the building test coordinator. So I go out and I work with them, and they have these are the things you're responsible for, but I always make sure that they know how to do it, and I train them on, for example, if you were going to give them the rights or the task of, you're going to go in and clean up Kite. You sit down with them, you show them how to do it, and then they do that. I do that all for our district because I just do. But what is it? Making sure that they know what they're supposed to do and that they have access to what they need to have access to, and they know exactly what their responsibility is important. Because I think all districts do it differently. It depends on your resources and what you're willing to give up or not give up because you want it done right. So.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Interims, if you want to, and some of you are probably very familiar with this, we don't need to spend a lot of time on it, but the interims is the first type of assessment that is available to your staff. This one is available through the Kite portal, and if you're planning on doing interims, the task records have to be submitted, meaning because your kids are connected to your teachers through their courses in PowerSchool or Skyward or whatever it is that you use. The one thing that you need to remember is that as new kids move in, and I don't know who does your task records, but usually a secretary or something like that, but as new kids move in, and some of you have more mobile districts than other where kids are moving in and out all the time, if you want the kids to show up in these rosters, that a task record has to be submitted when these new kids are coming in, or they're not going to show up. That's kind of common sense. But the other issue is let's say that I were to go out and train teachers on the interims next week. They get all gung-ho and they go in and they set up all their assessments. Well, they're not going to give them for another month. 2 new kids move in. Those kids aren't on the roster. So they have to go back in and recreate that assessment for those 2 new kids. And that was a question I asked at the conference, and it's still the clunky part of it. So I would encourage your teachers to not set up those assessments until it's pretty close to when they're going to administer them. Even though they can schedule them out for a long period of time, if they have new kids that move in, they won't be in that roster. So that's a pain in the rear for teachers, and they get so frustrated with that. So I don't know if any of you interpreted that message a little bit differently. They kind of dodged it a bit after I asked it, because it is a clunky piece.
Holly, now, maybe I'm not thinking about this right, but on the interims, once you create an interim assessment,
Right.
it's always going to be in your list of assessments.
Right.
So you should just be able to click on it again and reassign it to new students.
They must have updated that, because when I asked at the conference, they said that you had to create another assessment. So I hope I'm wrong.
Well, here's my question, how, or maybe you copy it, there's a way to copy an existing assessment, right? There's
But they-
2 options, you either create an assessment or copy an assessment.
Right.
So if you
I've
copy
done
an existing assessment, then you should be technically, because I remember hearing that, like, I could go in and create an assessment.
You can do it for all of them.
And they could all use
Mhm.
that same assessment, but they're gonna have to click on the one I've already created.
But once they create it, once they, I guess, click on the one you created, at the point in time when they do that, it's going to be the kids that are on the roster.
Right, so create your assessment.
I don't know, because I haven't gone in and done
They'll
it. So
schedule it ahead. That would be good. And if you schedule it, then you can create them and save them.
and then assign it or schedule it later.
Ready to do it.
Okay. So when you go into Kite, and most of you probably know this, make sure that you change your role over here, otherwise you won't, especially if you're assigned to more than one role, kind of common sense. Then you have your interims, and then all of it is right here. Now, the 3 links that I have in the agenda, those documents, and I haven't looked, I couldn't find them in here, maybe they're here, where you have the user guide, the FAQ, and they put a new video in there. So it's a step-by-step video on how to do all this, which is, I think it's fairly new, because I don't think it was in there a week ago, unless I just didn't look closely enough. So here it is, and then where you have, when you go into kansasassessments.org, and the directions are, I think, on the agenda. When you go to assessments, you go to interim, and over here are these are the 3 documents that I linked into the agenda. So these are step-by-step directions on how to do it. So you would probably want to give your teachers that link for that document. This is an FAQ. I will be honest, I haven't read it all. Maybe that's where we need to get clarification on that question we just had. And then here's the video. They just put it out on 11/2, so it is pretty new. I haven't watched it yet, but my assumption is that it's probably Mary Matthew going through step-by-step with a visual of what to click on and what to do through that whole process. If you went to that session at the KSDE conference, that's what she did. She logged in under kind of a fake login, or what would you call it, or something, and she went through each of the steps. I'm assuming
Video is not very
Is it kind of
The
dry?
manuals are very deep.
Does he do the steps though, at least? Okay, so would you, and I haven't looked at it, I just pulled this up yesterday for the meeting. Would you recommend using that for your teachers? Would it be enough to walk them through how to do it?
It's very, and it actually, we showed the video and then we set them up together. This was with the building test coordinators.
Okay,
And they're gonna go do this with the teachers once we have the rosters.
good. We need to, any other questions besides, I want to see if it has the FAQ in here, if it has that.
Karen, you knew the rosters format because you didn't practice one. You're just gonna need that.
Well, yes, the day that we were together, we were doing that on the big screen, and one of the counselors was sitting and just playing, and she was trying to set one up as one of her teachers. And the first one she did, she said, my kids are here, you lost your kids. Oh, wait, and she scrolled down. This one has, right.
I don't see it. All right, well. So here's those 3 documents. Those are just the same ones that are the kansasassessments.org. The big thing, I guess, with your teachers is if you're not, like, I'll provide them with a document that has these links, but if you're not, they're probably going to be looking for these documents in Kite, and they're not there. I think you have to go to kansasassessments.org to get those 3, these. And that's the link that I just provided. So unless I just wasn't seeing anything. I'll be honest, I didn't spend hours digging into it because I haven't gone through that with my staff or my test coordinators yet. The next one is and please jump in if I'm giving inaccurate information, are the formatives. These are located at kansasassessments.org. No task record has to be completed to access this information or these lessons and activities and assessment pieces. Pretty much paper pencil. When you go into kansasassessments.org, same tab here, but you just drop down to the formative. And then you can go in for each subject area, and there will be formative tools and activities for the different grades. I know this is a work in progress, and they continue to add these, I don't know about daily, but they're always under development, and they're adding more all of the time. From the session that I went, and I don't know if any of the rest of you went to this one, there are, it's a valuable resource. It has the lessons, the activities, it has some misconception information that's attached to it, common errors that kids make on specific skills. So a valuable resource that for teachers to use. And then the last one is just the the performance tasks. So if you're looking for the math or the ELA performance tasks that were done last year, they've posted these, and these are under Kansas Assessments as well, or at kansasassessment.org, and it's under assessments, and you go to summative, and then over here you'll see released items, and those are the released items where if your teachers are still, one of the concerns was, what do you mean they're not going to do the multidisciplinary performance task anymore? That was a great way for us to get back to writing and really focusing on writing and maybe a little bit of accountability, but they'll be pulling those out, so at least you have some access. And this is I think this is this all of them? Let me look at something real quick, hold on. I guess that's all of them. I believe these are the ELA, and then these are the math performance tests. So if you're still wanting to use those in your district, these are just some samples or released items that you can use. And then this looks like from the year before. Just FYI. And here's science, looks like up here. I think they didn't put ELA here because it's kind of social studies as well. So I don't know. Any questions about that?
What was the question that you had? And I just found my notes from that session. on building.
So let's say a teacher goes in and builds or creates an interim assessment. When she does that, like Karen was saying, that, you know, they pick from a roster. And if, let's say I go in today and I have 20 kids on my roster and I set all that assessment up, then a month later I go and I'm getting ready to administer that to my students, but I have 2 new kids that weren't on that roster when I built or created that test a month ago. Am I going to have to create another new assessment, or is there a way I can
There's a
click?
go to my test tab is where you save in Kite. You save your test, go to my test tab, and you look for your test.
Mm-hmm.
And it says most current is at the end. So you scroll clear down, the most current at the end, you choose PDF. It shows kids' usernames and passwords. So
How
you
can
can create
add?
it early, and then later you can go back and assign. Students can only be assigned to one proctor. And the proctors. One kid is a question. They're checking to see if you can have multiple proctors. They didn't know that yet. But
So you can create it
and
without.
you're right. They said there's more resources in the KSDE website that's separate from Kite. So I don't know why they separated them, but they said they're helpful. And they, instead of practice tests, they call them interactive demos. So
That's the actual, remember the technology one that they used to call it, was it the practice? Now they're calling it,
interactive demos.
and that's to get, is that the one that's to get familiar with the format of Kite?
It's mainly used
Yes.
just to practice the technology and using them all the tools.
Which is
Interactive.
different.
And they're ready to go, but that's not content, basically, it's more just to practice. And the K Alpha will be available in December. There's a new one.
So I still don't know if they go in, they build or create an interim, can they just stop there and then schedule it and add the kids later? Again, that's
There's a
still,
save button, and you save it
You
under
just
a
save
name,
it.
and they said
Mhm.
create your own name. And
Right.
you can't go back and I think keep working on it.
Okay.
And
just something to check when
but
you're.
it's really new, very new. They
Mhm.
were, it's like, still working on it.
The next section, Teresa usually shares information with us. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but she is part of the KPLT, is the professional learning team at the state level. Southwest Plains has started sending out information or notes from these meetings because they have a representative from their service center that it's Bill or usually someone, and they'll come back and do notes. So these are the notes from that meeting, but these are a few things that Teresa noted. So I'll just share hers, and then if you want to go back in and read the kind of the meeting minutes or notes, you can do that. Not sure what the first part means. You think that's building site councils and district site council? You think that's what that means? I don't know. I'm on the first bullet. DSC and BSC.
Oh, yeah, that is district life council.
Yeah. For a needs assessment, maybe for those groups. Once they're updated, she'll share, so hopefully next month she has that. Jay shared some CTE information. Labor market is requiring increasing higher levels of ed. 99% of jobs added during the recovery required some college or higher. IPS would transfer into post-secondary as a goal. Those are the minimum requirements or components of the IPS process. That is, if any of you have looked at that real carefully, you have to decide what model you're going to use for IPOS. I know some of you have a counselor-centered. Some of you have a career advisor. Some of you have career advocates. I know we have kind of a hybrid that we're using. So it's just a way to help you determine, I call it a model that you're going to move forward with. And then a goal, every middle and high school will have a IPS tool and process in place by the end of the 2017-18 school year. So when I was at a workshop the other day with Jody, we talked about this a little bit, where by the beginning of 18, all minimum 8 through 12th graders have to be meeting this requirement here. So I know some of you are already doing things. Maybe next year is a transition year for some of you. So use myself as an example. We have our implementation year, and maybe high school is like, I can't do all of this at one time. So maybe next year, which is kind of that transition year where you can kind of gradually start to implement, maybe we do freshman and sophomore, and then by 18, we're doing all 4 grades at the high school. Everybody's different in how you're looking at that. Questions on that? This is just another group. Again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it just because we're running a little bit behind, but this is the ESSA advisory group notes. So those are there if you'd like to look at them. There's always good information. I always find, like, when I read these notes, there's those little pieces of information that you're like, oh, that's good to know, or I missed that. If you want to scroll through these right now, we can. What do you all want to do? Okay, you can read them later. They're pretty short, but I kind of scrolled through them earlier, and it's good information. The other thing, when I got that Southwest Plains email, this link right here will take you to all of this, these state meetings and advisory group notes. So CAC is probably one of them too, because they've sent those out before. So if you're ever wanting to know what's going on at those meetings and you're not involved, and you know how it is, like I know being on CAC, trying to get that information a little earlier than the field, or little tidbits of information that are important to know, at least in our role. It's good to read through those meeting agendas and notes, or actually notes or minutes. Okay. Our next activity is on KISA, and what I thought maybe we could do today, and I don't know how much time you've all spent working with KISA, and if you've done your Q1, I'll call it presentation or activity, or maybe we could go around the tables and kind of share. Have you all done your Q1? However you decided to do it?
We're working through that. We've got the committee set up. We worked on relationships. We did I'm trying to think how long. We had an interns day, and we passed it. Anyway, and we went through broke everybody up into some teams, and you took the rubric out for relationships, and the teams were made up of grade school, junior high, and high school teachers. So it was kind of interesting because the high school assumed we didn't have any of it, and yet the grade school was like, yeah, we do. We have this, this, and that. So, it was interesting because, they didn't realize what we did have in place, and grade school didn't realize what the high school maybe had in place. So, and so that's how we worked through. Then we got back collectively and hashed through where we thought we were all at. So it was just time.
Yeah. And it's okay if you haven't. I just kind of want to get a feel for where everybody is. Relationships. Did you start with relationships? Haven, have you guys done anything yet with your Q? Oh, he's gone. Okay. Back table. Anybody?
We've done quite a bit. Yeah, we started it last year with our meet and stuff, and we've already we turned our 2 R's. We have an action plan of those 2 R's. Yeah, I think we'll try to enter it through. And think what else? Like, trying to remember what the years are. Like, we have our leadership teams,
district leaders, there's district leadership team and district site council, a building site council, a building leadership team. Am I missing a group?
What's like, we
Oh.
got ours established, we've got our goals written. We have an action plan for when we are.
Outside team.
Oh, we don't have our ODP.
Yeah, we don't.
That's-
Okay, so you guys have done quite a bit. Okay. What about Clearwater?
We met for quarter one with our district leadership team. We actually developed a district leadership team
Mm-hmm.
and our building leadership teams, and we met and did quarter one training with them, the superintendent and I, and then we're planning quarter two now. But I'm hoping to get, our quarter one was very dry, sit and get, and so
Yeah,
I'm
always was.
hoping to get some good ideas on how to make it not fun. Yeah, he's a fun. But
He made
we
this
need to do
fun.
a breakout meeting.
Yeah.
But we did relationships the first quarter, and now we're doing, relevance, so.
We basically are taking year zero seriously.
No, that's fine. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
We have our team in place, and we met with our council teams, and so we just have all of our teams in place, and that's.
Kind of over, kind of the big picture.
That's
Right.
We have a team of guys and I start training actually.
Maze?
We just decided the group that we're going to use for our district leadership team, we're going to use our PDCC.
Sure.
But sort of a modified PDCC. So right now, we're working with the principals to look at that list. We want to make sure there's alignment in that group with the people who are also on the building leadership teams. And that because the PDCC group didn't serve that purpose before, right now it's not necessarily stacked with people who did this kind of work.
Yeah.
And so we're asking the principals really to take a look and make sure it's the right person
On the bus?
And then we've decided that this year we're going to meet with that team rather than before and after school meetings. We're going to do like retreat or workshop style and release time to really work, not just on PISA, but some other things that fall within their role. And then we had a date scheduled last month to do quarter one tasks with the administrators. But if you watch the news, you know, we're in the middle of school boundary.
It might have taken precedence.
Yeah. So we had to postpone until November 15th. We'll probably do a combination of quarter one and quarter two tasks.
Yeah, and that's
because
okay.
We're running behind.
Yeah, we're taking a day each quarter. That's all we're focused on. We have all our teams, we've gone through first two breaks. And they have a very set task. Yeah. They also have Wheeler and the that as that. Very cultural.
Yeah.
Their conversation, and I think that they'll I will say, I was the manager of Kansas Star, Andy Star, at my building last year because they took the big districts and worked with them first on this last year. So I actually got the training and all of that. So I highly recommend it. It's free. The digital Kansas Star, it has awesome resources in there. They're all best practices, research based, but you have to do it digitally this year, no notebooks. And it was very user friendly. I felt we used it with our building leadership team. But any questions on that? That's one item out of a billion that actually can possibly assist it. But I really do highly recommend it, and the state does too. So you can use it as much as you want, or as little, depending. And if you're a title school, that can be your title thing as well. So you're actually going to.
Yep.
I have not even heard about it.
Yep.
I went to the last.
I went to
We were fortunate that we got to do it every month and actually have us together. So that was, if we come to that point, that would be something we could do. Because that helped tremendously. I mean, you could tell me something.
I know.
But we actually logged in and did work together and brought our data and our information, and we worked on it I think 4 or 5 different times, and then you can go back and finish, which was you bring your notes from your building leadership to your district. So you're not creating your own information, you're creating what they want in there, but that is the way to do it. It makes it so much less stressful, and
I feel like I'm coming in late on that road.
Yes,
No.
they aren't even, I don't think so.
No. They are, I went to the training about a month ago, and the way I see using it is as we're going through the process of, at the district level, we'll pick our 2 goals from the rubrics, then you go back and your buildings will create their new school improvement plan. So it's a digital piece for each school to create their school improvement plan digitally online, and then it has awesome support resources. So if you pick a certain goal or criteria, they're aligning it with KISA, and it'll be all aligned. So when you pick things, it'll be aligned with those different rubric standards. I'll just call them standards. I don't think that's the right term. And then it has support resources for here are some research or evidence-based things that you can do to tackle that particular area. But the thing I like about it the most is that it's all the same. So everybody's plans are set up in that same format, in that same database area. As a district person, I can go in and look at all of the different schools and how they have that set up. My plan is once we do our action plan at the district level and the buildings go back and they do their school improvement plans, is having that person come out and specifically train my administrators on this Kansas Star, which she said she would come out. It's Jennifer from Southwest Plains, because I don't feel comfortable taking a half a day and going through Kansas Star and trying to explain it when I get it like at a 2 level, not a 10. So to try to sell it to my administrative staff, so then they will make the decision. Either we do this, or you're going to have to come up with some other way of putting that school improvement plan together, because they'll have to have one.
Yes.
So
And I really like it.
it's nice. I like it.
I do
Price
recommend,
of hours or
like, us go to the training.
Yes.
And then, so don't bring my admin team to the training first.
No, I
We
would-
come and just cheer it out, and then,
Yes.
I.
Mindy, you went, didn't you?
It's very easy. It gives you some
They have your logins and everything. So like if they know you're coming, they'll give you your logins, your username and passwords for each of your schools and your district level accounts. They walk you through it, and you just kind of absorb it. That's the best way to explain it.
And it.
Yes, Kansas Star
So
does.
then what's the step 2?
To-
Then
to-
would I send my admin to that, or is that something that I would walk away and figure it out?
Yeah.
I went, and then in a timely manner, when it's time appropriate, I will have somebody come out. When we have to make a decision on how we are going to do our improvement plans, I'll bring that person out and go, here is an option, and then we can talk about a couple of other options, and then they will have to decide.
But you're putting in district information.
It's just
It's a little different, but it's
Mhm.
the district goals.
Yep.
Okay.
And you can do that.
And then did you go too?
Mm-hmm.
I was supposed to know
Okay.
so sort of happened organically. They came back so excited.
Yes.
They wanted to tell the other principals about it. So they came
Yeah,
in, it was
that's a
an
great
hour.
idea.
They presented to the other principals for about an hour, showed
Mhm.
demo what they had learned. And then all the principals were interested
On board.
in that. Now we request that.
Good.
So maybe we could even go to some of these.
Your principal should go and, or, principal, they made the principals learn, and then we had
Mhm.
data and assessment people, which I was. But our principal, to be honest, he was in all the meetings and discussions, but he didn't have time to get in there and do it. But we always went back to it and planned before the next meeting. But,
Superintendent?
whoever's gonna be the manager of the account would,
I mean,
you could actually come back and probably train them
Mhm.
if you feel comfortable with it. I mean, we met very little because it guides you. It really is. But one thing that was really funny, we decided on our goals and went through the steps. We did it through MTSS, which was lined up with MTSS also. We use that. And there is an actual survey on there that you can take, and we were required to take it. Well, it populates, based on your survey, populates the goals that they recommend you working on. Like differentiation was definitely one that popped up for us. So I went to the extreme, and I'm like, okay, Lisa, now look at this. We chose our goals. I have all these extra goals. We don't want to do like 6 goals. What is the? She said, well, it populated what
Based
you
on
can
need.
go with what the survey, or you can go with what your building leadership team decided. We went with our leadership team because that was the direction we were told to do. But so you might actually at the first training, they may share that with you. And it's really interesting to have your building leadership team together out loud, share what they feel and score it, and just see what pops up. You don't have to use this, but it's pretty research-based. Yeah.
That's good.
And differentiation definitely was one of our focuses, and there were so many resources in there. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Really cool. Videos, everything.
If nothing else, you go and wrap your head around it. And like May said, they sent a few, and that's a great idea. If you can get a few people from their building and have them go for the half-a-day training, get them excited about it, that's an even better way to do it.
District plan, right? So that's not going to be in.
I thought that there was district, and then you had your schools as well.
I haven't heard if we need to do a district in Kansas Star, or if we're just doing the buildings. I haven't heard that
Should be
yet.
aligned to what the district.
Right.
Correct.
So my understanding is,
Right, there you go.
yeah, so let's say that your district picks relevance and rigor and a few specific things within those 2 goal areas. Then they come up with an action plan, but then the buildings are gonna go back and they have their school improvement plans. And this is what I'm doing, not to say that it's right or wrong, is let's say we picked relevance and rigor. So those 2 buildings have to have those as their 2 main goals, and then they'll drill in based on their needs assessments on what in that area do we need to focus on that's more at a building level. Then if they want to, they can add additional goals, which might be like what you mentioned, or maybe one of my schools is really struggling with responsive culture. We didn't pick that as a district goal, but on the needs assessment, for whatever reason, that one building is really struggling. So then they may pick that 3rd goal and do a few things with specifically to responsive culture. That's my understanding, is that it's a district accreditation. We know that. Whatever the goals are, the district sets, that it has to filter back to the buildings, and then you as a building figure out what are we going to do in relationship to those 2 goals the district picked. Because I would think that the action plans at the district level, how are we going to do what are we going to do at the district level to tackle these 2 areas? Some of those are going to be more, I'll call them global action steps. Some might be specific to a building, but my thinking is when it goes back to the building level, that's when that building's really going to figure out, well, we need to do a better job of communicating with our families about whatever. But that may not be an issue at another building. So
That's how I envision it.
but that Kansas Star was a very, it's free, and it's a pretty impressive thing. I mean, I was
There's
kind of
still
off by it.
actually, it's not even aligned yet to TSA. So they're working on the alignment of TSA by this fall, but they don't even expect it. They don't even expect us to start filling it out not next year, the year after. So
we got
you don't want training a year
No,
in
not for yet.
advance. We want it right in the
I've got it over the burner. It's on the burner.
I'm a chunker though. I'd like to just start early and just kind of, once we make a decision, maybe add that. But if we're at
I
the
put
building,
it together so I know about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
How do we find out where the trainings are?
Let's do this. Is it Kansas Star? Is that how?
Yeah, it's on one.
Huh?
It's Indy Star, and then of course Kansas had to make it their own.
It's probably going to come up with
No,
the
it's-
casino.
Kansas.
Yep, there it is. But
It's
it,
without an S. It's JANASTAR, all one. Kansas Star. And the national is INZA.
Like that?
SA.
You go to the TASM website, they have a calendar.
is Tazen on there? Okay, let's go to Tazen. Okay. I didn't know. Right here?
And you may have to go to InVistar first because that's the national who developed it.
See it?
Calendar events on November 17th.
Right here?
The next one is in January.
This one is,
And that was the registration.
okay.
I had one in December, but they canceled.
I think they said.
Right here?
Curriculum meeting, it wouldn't be until fall that they shall know.
That's not.
That's not it? Okay.
January.
There's nothing on 12.
Two more. The plus two.
Oh, I thought that was on the 11th. Come on. Not. It's not opening. It's like it's not a live link.
I just searched.
I wonder if maybe I'm under a bad browser that doesn't work friendly with it. Well, you all know at TASN, you can go there. Let me see if there was any more that. I wonder why I can't click on that link. It's weird. Did you get it? What?
I was gonna say, after you're done with that, I'll show you somewhere else to go with more.
Okay. You can go ahead and tell me right now. So you can go to TAS and go to the calendar. Hopefully your links are full. Mine won't open. Hopefully yours do. I'm under Chrome, so sometimes browsers don't play friendly with certain.
There's a live binders they shared with us that has a ton of stuff.
From Kansas?
So if you go to live binders, and then go to search.
All right. Oh. And
And then you go down, no,
Oh.
go to the next line and go to binder ID.
right here?
Yep. And then type in 207 2566.
Oh, look, I already have it. So I must have got those two.
It's in there also.
I must have been there too. Everybody write down that number.
We put it in our notes and copy it. And the key is Kansas.
Kansas. Oh, I remember this.
And just all, I mean, we just have to specify that there's all sorts of stuff on
I wonder if there's a
that calendar page you were trying to find.
TASN.
TASN, if you type in Kansas Star up in the search bar.
It'll pull them up.
It'll pull it up for you.
So here's a good resource if you kind of want to familiarize maybe yourself with it before you go. And then let's go back to TASN. Where's the search bar?
Calendar.
Was it just Kansas?
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
Star, like that? There we go.
And there's a list.
There we go. So we have January 18th, but it doesn't look like you have to register off the calendar. It looks, well, maybe you could, let's do this. Oh, there we go. You could register. This one is, says Pittsburgh. You might want to be careful about where you're going. The one I went to was in Wichita, but let's see if there's another one listed. January, is that a different one?
Yeah.
Oh, Okay, so let's see where this one is. Heart Spring. That's the one, that's where I went last time, was at Heart Spring on the east side of Wichita. Okay, that looks like the only two. I know that one in November was already closed, it looked like, so. Your best bet might be this one on the 12th. So you don't have to drive a million miles, unless you want to go to Pittsburgh for some reason. Okay, that's good.
Nobody registering.
Yeah.
I think it was. And make sure you take your device because you do spend some time digging in. What was it where you had to type in Kansas for that light binder? What was that called? We had the ID and then the, Mindy, what was it called? Was it the, I know, but the ID was the number, but what was the next thing? What was that called where you had to enter Kansas?
Yes.
Access. Okay, any more questions on Kansas Star? All right. And this is just a question. I put this activity together. If it's something, if we want to do something different, we certainly can. But as you're looking at your different rubrics, no matter how you do your needs assessment, and if you looked in that Q1 booklet, and even if you use the Learning Forward resource, there's an activity where, you know, once you identify where you're at for each criteria, the performance criteria, whether you had people go in and highlight those or you just had a conversation and you did it at the building level, however, have any of you had those conversations yet about data or evidence that you're collecting? So in the future, let's say that you're focusing on a few of those areas, what data or evidence or information do you have available to you that would prove, not prove really, but show that, you know, this is where we're at as a district or a building. You know, we could go back to this piece of information, whether it's attendance data, a meeting agenda, it might be state assessment results, ACT results, it might be the Gallup student poll information, where we can go, and if we're trying to monitor progress, what can we look at to truly see if we are making progress? Has anybody started to do that yet as you're having those conversations? Hey, we started with relationships. So we started with relationships and we did that activity. I kind of modified it a little bit where they did I called it data everywhere, and they went back into the relationships rubric. They looked at it as a whole, and we did needs assessments a couple years ago and they just keep tweaking them and updating them. But once they really went back and coded it again, they talked about, you know, what can we look at now that shows, or I don't want to say proof because that makes it sound so good, that this is where we're at. And then as we want to move to the right on that rubric and get to modeling, what are we going to reference or look at to show that we are making progress? And then I created another column in that rubric, and I'll just show you an example. So let's see. And no, it's okay,
I
but
don't want to get that far.
this is, so this would be, and that's why I thought maybe doing an activity like this would be advantageous, but we don't have to. So I added actually a couple of columns. I can't remember if I added that one or it was already there. So they have comments, and then one thing that we did was, you know how you look at the criteria and you're like, well, that's really not something we have enough information about. That's really something our PDC committee needs to make a determination of where we're at, where we fall on this continuum, or maybe that's something the administrative team can determine as a district, this is really where we're at. Because some of these things, you look at it at the building, say you're doing it with your building staff or your building leadership team, and they're like, well, I don't know. And sometimes they don't even really understand what it means because it's not something that they're highly involved with. So we did it where we coded some of these as an administrative team, and the building level team skipped it because somebody else is going to make that determination. But so what they did is they went back in and coded it and did the yes, no thing. If we're here, if you're not here, then go back here, and they coded it. And then we did an activity outside of it where they did some brainstorming about different types of evidence and data that could be collected just in general. So it got them thinking, and it's in that Learning Forward book that had kind of a bunch of examples. And then they just went in and they were charged with what current data or evidence do we have, or do we collect, or do we analyze that would show us that this is where we're at and would help us get to, in this case, modeling, which we felt like we were at modeling on this one. So this is current data, so they type it in, and then possible data. So let's say we're not doing anything, which is going to be the case. You're going to encounter things where you're like, we don't do anything. I mean, we're guilty of that. Everybody is. Not even guilty. You just haven't done anything. So what could we, or what should we be collecting or looking at to help us as we're trying to move to the right on that continuum? So the activity would be, to really look at,
I thought you had
I already did. I shared this. So, and you all know, and this is not a good quality of mine, but I overkill, am over descriptive about everything. So as you're looking at this, please don't, just take it, copy it. If you want to use something, use it, but don't feel like this is the right way. My administrators laugh at me all the time because I'm overly descriptive. I don't script something, but I want them to make sure, I want to make sure that they understand what they're doing. And you have to also understand when you're looking at this, that we've been looking at these rubrics for 2 years. So if you're starting brand new, this isn't going to fit you, because we're at a different place. Now we're going back and starting with relationships now and digging into each one more carefully, but they've done needs assessments twice through all the rubrics. So this is kind of okay, we're pulling it back up again. We're going to look at the relationships rubric, move us to the left or the right if we feel like we've done anything, and now we're adding that evidence and data piece. It is in, and it's boring. I am not an exciting presentation person, so you might want to add a little flair. Just saying. So it is right. Hold on. Right here. It's under this collective notes. Yes.
Holly, I like the idea of the data.
Q1 through Q4.
Yes.
That's our weakness, is having evidence or data.
I added the column.
I like that. But I guess we could have the conversation, because there is a guiding question that says, what data do you have that proves this? Because you can have people go through and go, yep, we're right here.
Well, prove it. I don't want to say prove it, but demonstrate. How do you demonstrate or show?
So we have to prove it to the state. So
Right.
It's your resource.
Yeah.
Do what?
I found a resource. I haven't used it yet. I'm going to warn you before you log into it that once you log in, you require your email address and your phone number, and then they will start calling. So it's like, but
Can you enter it in? Go ahead.
yes, but it's Panorama Education. All their surveys are open source, so you can get on, and you can download it, and you can have the content free. But then when they call you and they want to visit to figure out what else they offer, they have all of these, data reporting services that are at cost. But Panorama Education, and they have surveys on staff-family relationships, faculty growth mindset,
Oh, good.
school leadership, perceptions of school leadership effectiveness, faculty perceptions of their readiness to address issues of diversity, all kinds of different survey content that is available for free. So it's just Panorama Education.
Wait, can you, if I put this in the agenda, can you, hold on.
Make a link.
Or just,
Here, panoramaed.com. It's all focused on social, emotional learning, climate, culture type surveys. All that stuff is kind of under the measure.
Panorama, what a,
And panoramaed.com.
sorry.
You're good.
I'm like, okay, is that it? Did I spell it right? Panorama. It's not coming up in blue. Is it maybe a www dot?
Yeah, www.panoramaed.com.
There we go. So it's surveys. And you all know as well as I do, things like in the area, especially like even relationships. Well, what data are we collecting to determine, we have climate surveys usually, that student Gallup poll, maybe data will help with a little bit of some of that, but I know we're not doing enough, so that's a great resource. When you do open up my presentation, all of the rubrics that our buildings filled out, they're there, so you can look at them and view only. Does not mean that they're right. Again, I don't mind sharing, but please know you're probably going to find mistakes, or you're like, she's crazy, why'd you put that in there? That's not right. Because I don't know everything, so just take it with a grain of salt. The other activity that we did in here, and this might correspond a little bit with what we're going to do, is and this goes along with kind of that learning forward activity. And then in Q1, it has that where you're supposed to be kind of starting to talk about evidence and data. So we started with, like we were just focusing on relationships. So they did some brainstorming. And then what they started doing, and this is not complete yet, but we focused on relationships. And then remember in quarter 1 how it was focusing on the academic and cognitive? And it had that data activity in there. So we talked a little bit about what data or evidence do we have that we're collecting in the area of academic and cognitive domain, I think is what it was called. And then in quarter 2, I think it moves into technical and career. So the next time we do it, then they'll fill in what data and evidence are we collecting in the area of technical and career. And then the next rubric that we're going to focus on, say it's relevance, then they'll fill in this particular area of that document. And this is a Google Doc that all 6 schools are doing. So they'll just keep adding it. So it's all collected in one place. So what we're doing, and over here, this is what could we do? It's in there too. Yeah, it's in there. Again, and just take it and use it or not. It was just the way I wrap my head around it and the way to do it kind of in an efficient way. So that's what I thought maybe we could do today as you start having those conversations. And I don't know about your staff, but sometimes I feel like our staff is a little bit limited in their scope of, when we think about data, we think about state assessments, ACT. They're not thinking about other types of information that's being collected that could be used for this purpose, such as attendance data, discipline logs in PowerSchool, surveys, parent-teacher conference attendance. All of those types of things can be used too. And sometimes it's hard for them to think outside the box. So I think that's an important activity that you have them participate in first, is to get them thinking outside the box about different forms of data and evidence that you already have, or possibilities of what you need to have to truly monitor your progress in on all of these criteria. I don't know. So the activity that I have for us, if you want to do it, is is breaking out maybe into, we could just do one of them today. We could focus on relationships since that's what most people are focusing on first, or we could take a look at all 4 of them. And then I thought we could kind of do a carousel of the different types of evidence and data that all of us are currently collecting in our districts, or even possibilities of what we could look for. Because then when you go back and you're doing it in your districts, you know how it's always good to have some ideas in your head that I'm sure there's things I haven't thought of that we could use. I don't know. Thoughts? How would you like to? Just do 4?
So I can go back and
Mm-hmm.
get information from all.
Okay, and I have chart paper, so what we could do is we'll assign, how about we assign 3 or 4 people per rubric, and you can click on the rubric, the link's right there, as a group or your table, brainstorm and think about, and it could be things that you're not doing too, but try to come up with as many different ideas of types of data or evidence you can collect in the area of relationships. Make sure you look at the criteria pieces, so you kind of have an idea, and then just write them on a piece of paper. Then we'll go and do a gallery walk where you can add information. Maybe you may not be assigned to that rubric today, but if you look at what that group put down on their chart paper and you have additional ideas, you can just keep adding to the chart, and we'll take pictures of them. Does that sound okay? All right, so let's do, I do have that chart paper. Oh, there it is. I'll have, Rebecca, you want to join this group? Sure. This group will be bigger, and let's do this. You can do data possibilities or current data. We're just going to do a list. It doesn't matter if you're doing it or not, but just a list of possibilities. Because everybody might be able to get this. And then we'll put them up on the wall when we're done, and we'll do a carousel. You guys will do relevance. And thank you. And so find a table. Is anybody? Okay. So let's take about 15 minutes. If you need to take a break, go do that, and then just start listing as many different things as you can in regard to evidence, data that you are using, or possibilities. Let me find some markers. Hold on. Yeah, you do need to look at the rubric first.
Yeah.
Look at the rubric first. Oh, yeah. Easily. That would help. Is anybody's link not opening? It should be right to KSDE, so it should open. It's not even a shared document. Are you on iPad? You can go to KSDE website and go to accreditation, and you can open it from there. I would unplug this, but I'm afraid I'll. You could sit up here with me if you want to. We could do ours up here. I just can't move my computer.
I was going to say,
Is there just my computer.
where do I go from here?
We're still trying to do it. What are we pulling up?
Yeah, it's on the left.
And we're doing which one?
The
K-12. So.
We have 3 classes.
Yes, I would suggest looking at the modeling box, because that's where you want to get. So if you read the modeling box for each criteria, that will probably help you figure out what kind of data. I mean, if that's what you're wanting to get to. So read the modeling box and then determine.
We already have our data, we have source that consolidated. I have several. What about your? So what? Your modeling, what data do you have?
Oh, yeah.
She said a first data sets with other
District review. So this. Create the policy, like the wording of the plan or implemented research district. So what I would say is that he has a vertical alignment to be held in your research. Show create so you can show rules. So my evidence would be our survey. Vertical alignment.
So, and that's kind of like creating that now. So,
the guy.
Yeah. And then all of those are
If you're constantly talking about these things and monitoring, this is your evidence to show that you're doing it. If you're constantly getting on
So,
chat, then it's going to show like council minutes and stuff. Like
what do you think of it?
like
Like,
when
like,
or
can you show the
charts and stuff. There's action plans in there that you provide us with. And here's
job shadowing. You're part of what we know.
I was gonna say, because we want a chance.
Yeah.
Okay, so definitely.
Because I started writing this, I
Yeah, right, we could definitely have that on, how many people that are actually. Yeah, yeah, well.
That would be yourself. Especially if they. Well, you just take it.
Yeah, they don't.
Show it, says counselor, they right, but you need to say.
I agree. make it.
And like your evaluation.
So it could, I guess,
There's a component that has to be clear that you're getting something new, right? So students have what I'm teaching and learning.
I'm not
Sort
gonna.
of have a meeting.
They can think about it.
Or like in Southwest, whatever tool you use, maybe she does evaluation for teachers. Or teachers who look at it. They'll be there. They're gonna hold on.
Yeah. Actually, is it really?
All the stakeholders are like community, parents, teachers.
Communicate. Okay, this is all of their curriculum. We still have training. Stretch.
So this is gonna do a focus on the
Technology. So maybe what we need to do is just take three.
That's enough.
Yeah.
Instruction.
So this time, let's review your model that we were doing. So we figured out how the instruction strategy. Under instruction management strategy, I guess training instruction line. Content areas of leadership, student training, technology. But I know that the information is outside of that one day it needs to be.
Yeah.
Not full data. The other instruction. Professional learning. Resource allocation.
Information for that is your field teachers.
I think, but I don't think I suppose that
Your data.
Structure and strategic. Okay, structure and the or would that rise the example?
And then you have your. Yeah, that's allowed.
What data do you use?
Oh,
Any,
Well, I was wondering, from your meeting.
can we work with?
attendance
Any of their meetings, getting that stuff.
You're like, you know, that's whenever you get. Or not. After graduation, data. What we use students to get.
So when we start mixing all the questions.
That's mainly what we're trying. Student data, and I'm thinking legislative and.
Newsletters,
I have, I'm new this year, so I.
All the data, like, all your customers, how many Okay, and then in there.
Evidence, data.
that you might you can look at. Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, secondary.
No.
For the same data. I would put screeners and documents and not this. Maybe not for other college.
That could have also demonstrate something.
Now, we both did professional development. And it gave me
Others did great.
The better place to do that.
But it wasn't even finished.
Okay, so we probably need to go to the next one.
Now, that was all,
Professional learning instruction.
That was a plan.
And I know what in this area, administrative.
Oh, so.
Take all their walkthrough data.
Sure.
It was great. So you use observation of data. By the building. It was.
There's a lot here if you want to read it. I mean, there's a lot on here. Students do hours.
Relationships, surveys on language.
Yeah, I'm thinking, we already have that. I think that's just saying. Yeah.
Instructions, so you would have to just, like, even the, after we did the PD. Professional learning.
It's really saying that teachers are taking learn it, and students know how to do it.
thinking of rental, how can I ensure that they're doing? But then other teachers, your observations, student surveys. We can evaluation of 2 years that was on engagement, that what we did was even like their singing chart,
I would not. So we could, observation. Yes.
Yeah, we do. I'd say that's enough.
Mentoring program guidelines.
Well, there's a survey.
But I mean, even
Well, I did too.
agendas, we're back to agendas.
As reflected on. Right. And then the next time we go. And then the other little. That you do that have those in that. And we got a little bit more.
We only have one thing to look at.
So it was my benefit of that going on.
Yeah, well,
But we have. So then they signed up. The first time they said we're going to come get us. Second time they had, they had to. They had to look. They had to go in, like, what are you going to be looking for? Like, this is something that I need. It was more.
It's more like just.
They looked at everybody else. I've heard that they do really good.
We're on response.
Feeling is big a little brain.
Isn't it mental health going to be part of this wellness or is that another?
So you need to.
But I got you.
Actually, you work.
I know where is the
Yeah. Oh, it is an alert. I'm seeing social emotional character development. It's in there. It's in that same line. You have when they start acting pretty much trying to Oh, really?
Okay. Bye. How much time do you need?
I didn't get through all of them.
Very detailed.
Yes, we should do the rest of it. Okay, let's do this. If it's okay, because of time, I will keep these, and then next time, we'll finish this activity where I'll have you go in and we'll do a carousel where we'll keep adding information to it. Does that sound okay? There's a lot to tackle. I know, it's exhausting. Does that sound okay with everybody? I will take pictures of what we currently have, so that way you can start thinking about it. But we'll keep adding to them next time. Perfect. Great morning. Thank you, everybody.
You already know where they're at. Well, maybe.
And you are the one. No, no. I'm the option hunter into our yeah. Or let's take a look at
elementary screening tools.
I would say.
I'm not, I don't show up.
How can I enhance learning my classroom using it? So that would be my way of saying, I'm gonna use I have a training, I use in training on CMAR, I have it in our.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye. And, right, but it doesn't. And like you just told us, how we have to have all this training. So it's just a compilation of, you would hope that as a result of all this training and technology and how to integrate it effectively, that's.
It's some of it all.
But, you know,
It's just some of all of this thing. But like, you know, for your health,
Boy, I don't know if the building I'm in
Is
or
it
yours
because,
is.
like, we're looking at adoption of grade. But, well, these are costs.
Okay, is it any better?
Would that be a better investment than buying one? I mean, are we getting extra? And so, there's no way I can answer that question. This board keeps asking, like, was it out of investment? Have we got, we're just paying off? Well, how do you answer that?
well, another thing I guess you could do is you could get off that over your rating engagement levels in your classroom. Kids that are fully engaged, well, that could be a piece of data that shows that. You obviously know that if you're doing things that are relevant to students, you're learning, then it's going to increase engagement. Again, though, you don't know. I mean, but
That's what I look at them every time it's on the board. We're getting ready to look at adoption 21 and 563. The question becomes, no, is this what they invested? Is this increasing money? $380,000, how many teachers can I buy for that? How much, what about salary increase? Is learning really going up? Because all the kids with one kid, one board, one of the daughters come home and say, we had this about like history yesterday. We got to watch Netflix a lot. That's what we're doing. And just like that,
I'm sure data every year. Fourth, fifth, middle school, high school. You can use that data from year to year if you have good enough questions in there. Kids can rate their engagement or the teacher rate.
I could do a student
Learning
survey.
relevant.
And
Like,
like, here's,
So we
I can get in and get reports and show how many times kids log in the curriculum a day, how many minutes.
Right,
they're
but their
out.
question is it improving their learning? Just because you have a one-to-one device?
I do think.
Yeah,
survey is
right,
relevant.
because they've got all our stuff, they're like, they're playing more games,
That's one of our questions is, what are you using, what is technology being used for in your classroom? And there's like a list that they check, and then you know kind of a percentage of.
That's a good idea. What is it used for in your classroom?
Like games or online textbook or.
Or is it how they use it in your classroom,
projects.
or is it how they're using it
You
during
have
the
to be at
day?
home too. Yeah,
Because what about the kids who are just playing, like, so they're like supposed to be taking notes, but they're playing a game, and it's just you're running them on their screen.
That was being honest.
Right. So that's my other thing as well. So they want to take the computer away, like playing games, right? Like, oh, well, they're going to play games every time they catch playing games. Well, when they doodle on the side of their paper, they just take their pencil away. That's how you're doodling. I mean, if you pencil away, you're never going to get your pencil back for 3 weeks. Well, and there's some research that says gaming is like problem solving and what they're learning from. I mean, we want Minecraft. It's hard with
I'm gonna take a picture of all these and I'll put the links into the agenda and then we'll keep working on them next time as well. That way, because I don't,
You know, do you have this app? I'm like, I'm a big fan of this app all of a sudden. It's called Scanner Pro. And you can take, so I'll show you this. So I'm going to load Scanner Pro. It's sort of like taking a picture or something like this. But it automatically like straightens out the line and turns it into a video. So like it takes the distortion. This is a document that's hanging in our board room. Yeah, it straightens out my lines for me.
Oh.
And it takes the distortion out of it.
That's cool.
And then it's an automatic PDF, and then I can just share it to anybody else.
Scanner Pro.
It's called Scanner Pro.
So when you
There's
take
a
a
place
picture
for
and
download
take a
it.
picture,
I'm gonna take a
it's in
picture of
Scanner
Scanner Pro. So like this right here, and it kind of cleans up the document a little bit.
I know, right? Oh my gosh.
Okay, so, and then
Scanner Pro. Fast Scanner Pro?
wait, no, I don't, it's free. And so there it is, and see, it cleans it up a little bit. I mean, it takes the distortion out of it, especially if something's hanging, it'll take the distortion out of it. And then you can add to that file, like I could add another document to all in the same file.
And then I can create a,
Right. Okay, so like for this one, like I can do it on this one. Did you find it? I couldn't find it either. Is it this one? Scanner. I did. See, mine, for you guys have. I have
What's your
Apple.
icon 1x4?
oh, I don't want that.
Oh, okay.
I think it's my skin. Apple, would it be, what would it be? I mean, that's,
We've got a whole bunch of options.
yeah.
Like the Scanner Pro right there is
Maybe this one.
$5.99.
PDF scanner. I will find out.
Well, Cindy just taught us a new
Now we
trick.
can use it, oh, with the camera to PDF scanner.
What's the guy's name from Haven?
Kevin's.
Kevin's. Try, yeah, just try one. Here's what else I like about it. It's like, so I took 4 documents. And you know, I could, it is right now a whole document. Like I could share this, all of them. Or I could just say, I'm just going to share one of them.
So it separates your PDF out.
Oh, that's
my
good.
This is really nice.
Oh, because you normally have.
Good to know, I really love, so like, for instance, I put this in my presentation to team leaders. And I taken all of these pictures and I was like, and I wanted to drag it into Keynote, but it drags all 4 pages in. So I just wanted one of them. I just try one. Maybe they all do the same thing. And if it's writing, it'll, it's probably some of the detective order stuff, yeah. You'll need to get the order stuff. Yeah. Well, so, I don't like it. And then you can adjust it, mine you can adjust in the end. That makes it really pretty clear. Oh, that is it. And I get that.
I found the Scanner Pro Scan and Share that has 5 stars.
Here's, wait, mine is just.
Oh, this one has a document scanner, a QR code scanner, and a barcode scanner.
That's great.
So then how do I take this?
I have like, see, that's what's mine. I can share it to people right from there. Here, right, select one. I can share it. Okay, so video check.
All right, see you guys.
Bye.
Have a great afternoon. It's gorgeous It's too much brain power and I'm done.
I know. Okay, let me ask my tech person, what the droid version.
Yeah, I'd like to know, because
This is pretty cool, like, I can share, like, after I take it, I can share it straight to Google Drive, or, but see, this is my, do you think it's an Apple version?
I'll just take one.
What is the droid?
They do not want to hang
I
out.
know they got
For leading this meeting.
Oh, I just. If it is, then you, I paid for it, you know, it's right.
Thank you, Stan.
Hey, how come you're not getting it either? Why, like? No, it's just.
So there's one-
Email me and tell me what it is.
Okay, well.
Go back.
Oh, I feel like that all the time. You're not alone.
Have a wonderful afternoon, everyone.
See you soon.
Yes. Oh, wait, I got something in your car.
Oh, yeah, that's what you're.
I'd have been halfway home and remembered, Holly told me about.
I know, I totally.
Big fan of stuff. I've been using it. I'm trying to, so
Good.